My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Vehicle 1116, stalking as I'm walking down the street, gang stalking at the intersection of G Street and Euclid, gang stalking in a manner where they're seen doing the same thing by helicopter. That's them doing the same thing using their vehicles. The specific environment is what informs and what is revealing what is stalking that's never supposed to be suspected by the police department. They're gang stalking in concert with the people of the state. Here's my shadow here, and here's my shadow here. This is the perpendicular shadows of this pole right here. That's a demon stalking me while I'm walking toward where they're stalking all night long, and it's 12:50 in the morning. It's Saturday, June 7, 2025. The police are stalking a woman that they're conspiring to murder and kidnap. That's the purpose of the police targeting you, by the way, in case you did not know that. That's the purpose of that, and that's what they're doing. That's why they're in engineered light, stalking me at a traffic light. That's very psychotic as well, very highly malicious. That's that maniacal, that's that ongoing obsessive purpose while doing so right in your face as well. This is P.O.C. It's 12:50 a.m. 7 CSU 711 8 FYD 180, molesting my person with light while the Ontario International Airport is stalking over here at the G Street Plaza, stalking me with amplified noise. They're monitoring together while they stalk me with the elements. Light activity, their stalking presence, and the amplified audible activity, combining that together. Light moving all over my person while they're driving in and out of the parking lot, while amplified plane is heard all the way over here at the G Street Plaza, where the Bank of America is, where the W.S. shoe store is, and they're stalking in the parking lot. This is P.O.C. June 7, 2025, license 9AWC 425, 8DGU 127. Ontario Police on the opposite side stalking with 8SHN 697. This is Euclid Avenue. The demons who pace while I remain inside of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And impossible light activity is accosting my person. So you're looking at the employees pacing, you're looking at the patrons pacing. They are the people that stay together. License 9PJN897. And today is June 7th. You'll recall yesterday, June 6th, I went to the San Bernardino County TAD office where the entity had the fake sun over me, and the Ontario International Airport is demonstrating state engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring with commercial planes off of Holt Boulevard. License 9MZP977 and 6DIN526 are demonstrating third-party engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring and terrorism. They're also going to be prosecuted as the sex offenders that they are, because the key point of surveillance is to monitor also in bathrooms where your genitalia is under surveillance, and everything going on in bathrooms is under surveillance by a whole population at all times, at all places. So in line with that, understand that yesterday, 2024 is relevant, always relevant with regard to what LAPD is doing. But with regard to day-to-day analysis, yesterday I went to the Obit Family Community Library, and you can see the light source over me at 10:45 a.m., where it's directly over the Metro 102 apartments after getting off of Omnitrans, a facilitating venue. I documented where the fake sun is at 11:19 a.m., remaining above me while the bus turns from Hope Boulevard onto Bonneview, and then onto what is D Street to get back onto campus onto Hope Boulevard. And while you see in video the fake sun turning as the bus turns, that's very demonic, but it is speaking to the absence of the sun over Starbucks. So that's identifying stalking by the population. And where the entity is stalking, I'm documenting it's 11:59 a.m. And so the P.O.C. is already established, it's on the record. And so again, in conformity to the pattern of conduct, the demon-possessed are psychopaths who are engaging in the P.O.C. of terrorism and psychological torture, sexual violence, and they're sitting in the Starbucks demonstrating that mental illness together collectively while they are maliciously targeting as one. And this is group stalking that is underway vicariously on behalf of the state. The gang stalkers who are the city of Ontario, which is representing the state's engagement in criminal surveillance, which is demonic. The fake sun is over the Starbucks right now, and engineered light is touching my person and moving all around inside. And psychopaths are those that sit around targeting you and not looking at you, not addressing you, don't have any personal relationship with you. They're also psychopaths when they're related to you, such as Tracy Banks and Eric Corey Spencer, etc. But this is severe mental illness, as I'm exposing the criminal conduct of the entity that is gang stalking by virtue of the documentation. The specific environment is present at Starbucks right now, and that's directly opposite of what happened yesterday when the fake sun remained over me en route back toward Euclid Avenue, when I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library. And that's what I take a picture of in the morning at my arrival, and that's what I take a picture and video of at my departure when that library closed at 6 p.m. and it's still over me at that same entrance. That's where the Ontario police, who are gang stalking, provide evidence against these gang stalkers in Starbucks under a necessarily fake sun amongst engineered light for the pattern of stalking and molesting and terrorizing with impossible light activity pursuant to criminal monitoring, which is in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and to psychologically harm is underway. And this is, again, it's 12 p.m. right now on June 7, 2025. They are pacing in and out of the bathrooms while I am seated inside of the Starbucks monitoring. They are pacing in and out of the venue, ordering drinks and getting them and going out of the venue. They're pacing. They are pacing walking on the sidewalks. They are pacing driving on Euclid Avenue in both directions. They are pacing while they are at all the venues where the fake sun remains over me, and you are looking at a big picture, a macro level, and you can see in your mind's eye, imagine Starbucks, the building, looking from it from above, an aerial view. The fake sun is directly over that building, is where it remains for the duration of the day, as long as I remain here. And everything around it is pursuant to what is pacing. They're not normal individuals. They're not separate and disconnected. They are one entity, a demon-possessed one. And that identification, that condition, is proven by the maintenance of a fake sun over me in their presence, which is also shared with what is connected to them, the impossible light. While you're driving around, while you're walking around, while you're in the venue preparing drinks and getting drinks, and the impossible light activities happening inside of the Starbucks, these are demons. And psychopaths, demonstrating that fact that they are mentally ill, they do it through their criminal engagement and targeting me. And this, like I stated, is the documentation serving to both diagnose and prosecute for federal group stalking and monitoring, and that's exactly what the entity is going to be subject to. The entity is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct that's intended to kidnap via criminal defamation, and the entity is going to be subject to what are diagnoses for actual mental illness, which is exhibited, as a matter of fact, based on their criminal pattern of conduct, which is also supernatural. And how you know that they're demons, because there's no possible way that you would have both the supernatural environment and also the behavioral patterns shared by the population. These are the living dead. All right, these are hollowed out zombies. These are nothing other than demonic spirits that are using these meat suits, these people that are surrounding, and it's not a scary movie, it's real life. It is demon possession exposed, and it's also criminal conduct, criminal surveillance, which is satanic, in case you did not know. This criminal surveillance system is it is of Satan, and it is demonstrated, it is proven in that specific environment. Where they are driving all around and the fake sun is remaining over me as I document, that's how you know that they are targeting me. And as I document the government engaging in that, that's the prosecution of the government for criminal surveillance with the population, engaging in what is a matter of public corruption. And at 11, now it's 12 p.m., the entity engaging in documented terrorism, which Starbucks is going to be prosecuted for, like every other venue, like the entity itself, for terrorism with impossible light activity, and doing so with the intent to obstruct justice. While they're engaged in surveillance and they're monitoring, they engage in more and more of that psychopathic behavior. And it has nothing to do with even the fake sun. This is why you have my shadow appearing in the shade on the inside of the Starbucks. This is why you have light manifesting and dynamic on the inside of the building, where there's no vantage point, where the sun is aiming or in position to aim it through the door. You're looking at shade that's covered around, but I can walk into a mirage of light. That's a documented pattern, by the way, and that's also demonic. And that's how you know that they are also closeted psychopaths. In the same way that the mentally ill are gang stalking me in helicopters, repeatedly flying in circles while they follow me around in helicopters, they are demonstrating their mental illness as well. It's currently 12:04 p.m. It's Saturday, June 7, 2025. And this is the ongoing documentation pursuant to the prosecution of the U.S. government that is gang stalking in the entire state of California, while they keep the evidence of it as though the center of the universe is wherever I remain. And that is indicated by the maintenance of a sun, not just at one point in time. The documentation is so exclusive as that it keeps the sun over that building. And then in addition to that, there's the engineered light, and that's informing you about the fact that this is a whole illusion in this environment, that it's not sunlight that's covering you wherever you're at, because the sun is over me in Ontario at Euclid Avenue. And sunlight also doesn't create multiple shadows, upright shadows, magnified size of your shadow, and light ricocheting across buildings and into buildings and on the ceiling above you, and just manifesting out of nowhere in the dark. That's speaking to this system of surveillance, and it's absolutely demonic, and it's amongst those who are stalking. Unlawful surveillance
following from place to place and engaging in surveillance is defined as stalking. That's exactly what it is, and that's exactly why the government's going to be prosecuted for it. And it's exposing law enforcement agencies as the terrorist organizations that they are. They are raging psychopaths who are hostile because their stalking conduct is being broadcasted, as it should be. And that's the same with the people of the state who pace in and out of bathrooms to stalk me. That's very sick and depraved. And they also are obsessed with my vagina when it is exposed in the bathroom, where they're also pacing around and stalking and monitoring, interested in that which they should have no interest in. Especially if I don't talk to you and welcome you about, hey, you want to talk about my genitalia today? I don't, and I don't put it on OnlyFans. I don't put myself in for, I don't live my life like that. I'm not exposing myself. I'm not putting myself in that sort of situation. The entity is obsessed with me and is stalking me, and the impossible light activity is proof of it. The fake sun is proof of it. The behavioral pattern, the malicious acts of defamation and kidnapping is all proof of it. It's 12:06 p.m. on Saturday, June 7, 2025. This is P.O.C. as I remain at Starbucks today. A license plate 5 Zebra Henry Mary 579. This is monitoring throughout the entire Starbucks. And the current time is 3:24 p.m. The entity has been maintaining this impossible light activity. This is harassment. It's absolutely impossible, and it's speaking to the co-defendants who are the people of the state, the population that is gang stalking. It's light activity while the employees are monitoring. This is pacing and engineer light, while dynamic engineer light, which is relevant to the prosecution for terrorism and psychological torture, and it's pursuant to what I review on my communication device as well. The entity engages in Title 18 federal stalking for purposes of harassment in order to obstruct justice. So I am looking currently at what is the video captured on this day in 2025, which is taken at 2:37 p.m. and the screen recording ends at 3:45 p.m. as I'm providing in-depth analysis about the impossible maintenance of the fake sun over me for the duration of the day, like it is in Los Angeles, where you can see that light source over building 1810 right over me while I'm at work on this day in 2024, and where LAPD is gang stalking. This is where the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking, as I've been capturing in the specific environment. So this is coexisting, and this is the evidence of the fake sun being present, but the fake sun has nothing to do with this light activity. This is, again, June 7, 2025. Between the time of what is 2:30, let me go ahead and get on here because this is what you're directly going to compare with regard to what LAPD is doing and Ontario PD at 2:37 p.m. and the video ends at 3:45 p.m. So for the entire hour, the fake sun remained over me at 1810 North Alvarado Street. This morning, the entity is aiming in possible light activity right here along, despite what is this covering, and under no circumstances does sunlight bend under into buildings. And this is at during the 11 a.m. hour, where the people of the state are pacing just like they are now in impossible light activity. That was merely stationary light activity, impossible, and this is dynamic light activity that you're witnessing throughout this video, and it's occurring at the same time that the fake sun is remaining over me in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, and the people of the state are openly gang stalking. That's impossible light where the reflection and the appearance of the window and their shadows are appearing above their heads. They're monitoring. And they're monitoring as a corrupt business practice, which is in conformity to the P.O.C. It's exactly what Speaker Companies is doing to me. Starbucks is monitoring me, and so was my employer in Los Angeles in the specific environment as it is exposed. Right now, it's 3:26 p.m. Capturing what is the fake sun that's remaining over me during the 11 a.m. hour today. The people of the state talking. It is a citywide effort. As you can see, the inside of the building coexisting with crossing and path conduct. Totally impossible and absolutely demonic. And this is the prosecution of the city of Ontario. That's the state of California. That is gang stalking. All right, this is impossible light occurring both inside and outside. That's license 9 POD 235, and that's specific targeting by demons. And this is the same roof that the sun was over at 11 o'clock this morning. This is exactly where it was at. Well, I stood at the same front door. This is 507 North Euclid Avenue. And at the same time right now, the LAPD is targeting me. They're swarming around me while the fake sun is over my head. This is not 1810 North Alvarado Street. And being at 1810 North Alvarado Street and being at 507 North Euclid Avenue never results in what is piercing across through the windows into the cafe like you're seeing on video, and also swiping outside of the building. The people of the state are targeting me, and your ability to know that is an of conduct. The people of the state are targeting with the state. This is vicarious conduct, and you know that the government is targeting while the fake sun is over me, doing the same exact thing that the LAPD is doing on this day in 2024. This is gang stalking, and you're looking at the same city engaging in this conduct at nightfall in the specific environment where the same police department is gang stalking me at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, at the Tabor Professional Building at 320 West G Street, where the Ontario International Airport is engaging in surveillance as well. And the people of the state are engaging in what is psychological torture and domestic terrorism. This is in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and they are intentionally targeting. They are doing so with knowledge. Your knowledge of that is the fake sun that's over me. This is a supernatural occurrence, and so is light appearing while they drive by, while the demon that is in a helicopter representing the corrupt police department that engage in kidnapping with the intent to obstruct justice because of this body of evidence that I'm gathering. That is the entity that is targeting, and that conclusive evidence is the maintenance of a specific environment, which the people of the state share in, where I'm being targeted. I specifically am being targeted. LAPD is targeting me under the fake sun, and on this day in 2024, the entity is maintaining this light source for purposes of identifying the environment where the entity, the public entity, which is also demonic, is targeting. And this is what's happening on the job. This is what LAPD and the Ontario PD, who arrived in helicopter to engage in gang stalking on video, those are the delusional psychopaths demonstrating mental illness. This is not only for what is prosecution, it is for diagnosis. All right, the entity is maintaining the fake sun 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. This is 4 hours. And it's also relevant to what is same time of year, same time of day analysis, because in Los Angeles, the LAPD is gang stalking, as I'm documenting in this video, where the fake sun is remaining for the duration of the day in 2024. The entity is maintaining this light source, so I'll go ahead and show that on this video right here. While LAPD is engaging in the pattern of conduct of flying all around me, swarming all around in helicopter, engaging in terrorism and psychological torture in the specific environment where this light source remains over 1810 North Alvarado Street, where I work. In Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, which is not over this building. It is not going to create any sunlight in this building. Driving by and piercing through shade does not cause sunlight to ricochet off of your vehicles. The people of the state are directly tethered to the light activity. The light activity is key to understanding surveillance, and amongst the surveillance that's underway in the country and exposing what is public corruption, surveillance underway embedded into the corrupt practices of businesses like Starbucks. Employees are not only gang stalkers, they're demons. That's the ability to engage in that conduct, and they do so with a high level of This is a demonstration of severe mental illness, psychopathic to be specific. The passive-aggressive nature of engaging in the elements of monitoring, monitoring me right now on a communication device, monitoring while the impossible light, monitoring while the fake sun is over me, which is, again, impossible to coexist with the natural environment where the sun is at the same time throughout this entire video remaining over me in the same manner that it is right now over this building as it is at 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles. And the entity is engaging in what is a kidnapping on May 29, 2025 with the intent to obstruct justice. The light activity is also legally analyzed as a threat. The entity is conspiring. The repeated acts of kidnapping, the stalking by the police department, is that which is done in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, in furtherance of ongoing psychological torture, and doing so with the people of the state. Okay, so I want to document again the license plates of the people of the state that are gang stalking. This is light activity. This is what Woodside Senior Apartments is doing while the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking last night while I'm on G Street, stalking in the path under the fake sun while engineered light is swiping in, going into the business, gang stalking as a customer, and they're gang stalking as employees. License 6TE641 is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department in the same manner that the Los Angeles Police Department is gang stalking. As identified, this is public corruption. This is public corruption. Oh no, it's okay. A very courteous demon that's gang stalking. It's built into the pattern of conduct with regard to targeting American citizens on behalf of the state. All right, it's currently, by the way, 3:31 p.m. The people of the state are engaging in the elements of monitoring in the specific environment. You refer to the video at screen recording 2024-0607, 1545-09. This video is an hour long, so from 2:37 the fake sun remains. There's no position in the natural environment that the sun's coexisting with its presence over Starbucks. It's also not over the Ovid Family Community Library where it remained yesterday until my exit at 6 p.m. where the Ontario Police are also exhibiting demon possession and the fact that they're engaged in criminal surveillance evident through the maintenance of the fake sun that's over me at the Ovid Family Community Library and not simultaneously over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and certainly not for the duration of the day at any venue like I'm documenting each individual venue. Representative of what the state is doing, criminally monitoring
All right, the light activity is relevant to understanding surveillance, and surveillance is underway by the government that does it in concert with the people of the state. All right, they're doing so in your paying environment. The environment is revealing malice. It is currently 3:32 p.m.
All right, it is currently June 7, 2025. It's 4:35 p.m. So the video that you just listened to is in reference to we're juxtaposing what the Los Angeles Police Department, and remember, as I juxtapose the conduct of the Los Angeles Police Department and the Ontario Police Department, because I'm in Los Angeles on this day and my video is capturing what's at the same time at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where I live and work. So that's capturing the sunrise and the sunset at that apartment and at that apartment complex, and the sunrise and the sunset when I'm in Ontario. The entity engaging in what is the May 29, 2025 kidnapping with knowledge of my documentation that includes the juxtaposition in order to understand the specific environment, where it's absolutely absurd and impossible that the sun is over both Alvarado Gardens outside of my window, rising, setting, over my head at work, creating any shadow above your head, creating mirages of light in your office, in addition to maintaining presence over Woodside Senior Apartments complex, where it remained for the duration of the day, and where the same pattern of conduct is underway at Starbucks. So the light activity that you witness in this video that I'm just narrating in real time, it's relevant to the fear. And fear is relevant to knowledge pursuant to surveillance. What the entity is doing with the impossible light activity is directly relevant to knowledge about the fact that the pattern of conduct is being documented, that the pattern of conduct is being published, that I am identifying specific people, that I am making any sort of correlations, engaging in any analysis, that I am making any connection with what happened in Los Angeles. This is exactly what the entity sought to avoid by having me kidnapped. So that's another relevant motivation, where the entity is gang stalking and seeking to obstruct justice. Tracy's random coming home on the 29th, nothing precipitated her coming home, and nothing occurred. She came in, the first thing she said was that you have to go, the police are coming. There was no argument, there was nothing. It was literally that abrupt. The entity is very fearful of what it is that I've already documented, and this is why I do provide the details in the with regard to LAPD's gang stalking me in 2024, where I'm living and working. I lived in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens from July 7, 2024 until July of 2023 until July of 2024, where I am documenting the LAPD very heavily stalking in helicopters. And that's what I've been documenting the city of Ontario engaging in both planes and helicopters, in Los Angeles as well, planes and helicopters, focusing on where I'm at. And that focus on me is not only my capturing the aerial surveillance, the harassment and psychological torture tactics with this impossible light and amplified audible activity, but also with the fake sun documentation. And at night, I'm documenting the fake moon. So when the sun is remaining over me at one location all day long, and then at nightfall, and all of the land, it's remaining over me at night as well. And then you have the asinine conduct with light. That's what you see in this video that I captured, that you just listened to rather, that is captured at the same time of the screen recording that I'm going to include in this podcast, because of all the analysis that I'm going through. The analysis that's relevant to where I'm at even right now in 2025, pursuant to prosecution for federal group stalking and monitoring, where the government is engaging in criminal surveillance, which is satanic, and it's necessarily occurring amongst impossible light activity, this engineered light that's covering everything, and it's disguised under what is the specific environment. The fake sun remaining over me where I'm located, and the fake sun is necessarily over you in the country, because we do not share, and I don't have the same sun that's over the White House is not over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And that's how you understand that this is surveillance. Secondly, the impossible light activity that's occurring inside of Starbucks is occurring, and it's occurring at a more rapid and more concentrated rate, which is exactly what I stated is a pattern of conduct pursuant to knowledge, and it's also pursuant to the mental illness that the demon-possessed want to keep concealed when they are engaging in what is knowledge that they are being exposed. Very fearful of my documentation and engaging in what is harassment and psychological torture with impossible light that the rest of the demons who are gang stalking intentionally disregard. Exhibit A is the Caucasian woman that's in the corner who's speaking very loud in the restaurant. She's on her communication communication device, while the same engineer light that you saw on video is swarming inside of the venue, and just like the overweight male is in the venue and all the employees are in the venue, the impossible light, their shadows are appearing on the wall above them. That is all absurdly impossible light, and it's also demonic. They're engaging in surveillance and they act oblivious to it. So they bring in another third party. This is a psychopath. This is a Caucasian woman who's stalking, and she's engaging in conduct with the Ontario Police Department with the intent to create what is a false illusion. It's not persuasive whatsoever. It is entirely incriminating while light is swimming in the air inside of the Starbucks, and the intent to sit here and engage in what is a phone conversation is, number one, to monitor, but secondly, to present what is the appearance that nothing abnormal, despite what you're looking at, is entirely abnormal. The demons engage in what nothing is abnormal, nobody is noticing anything, even though you're looking directly at it. That's the behavior of the demon possessed, and that is the behavior of a psychopath as well. This is the Caucasian woman that's in the corner on a communication device. She's engaging in relevant positioning, audible activity, and federal stalking under Title 18 while she uses her cell phone, monitoring, creating audible activity, and you can hear her voice in the background. She's intentionally there. She's a prop for while the impossible light activity is swimming inside of this venue. Now, the light activity that you see on video, it's much more pervasive. It's much more aggressive, if you will, and that's based on the documentation level that I'm at. I've been documenting several videos on a daily basis of the Ontario Police Department following me literally from place to place. That's what I documented last night, following me from where I'm located to another location. That's traditional stalking, but it's also gang stalking as it's occurring in the specific environment, because the police department, or and that particular demon in that helicopter, is not one person that's just stalking me. The entity is stalking as a government program. Okay, so it's gang stalking, but it's also traditional stalking, as I literally have multiple videos of the police department following me from one place to another in helicopter, and it's specific with regard to me because no two people are going to have the same video documentation of, oh, I'm here and the helicopter's here over me, and I'm here at this next location and the helicopter's here over me, unless they're with me, traveling with me, going to the places that I'm going at the same time that I'm going. And the entity is gang stalking, and so they are all present and by present I mean present as an entity while the impossible light is present. So they are monitoring, and this is malice with regard to Starbucks. This is what Raquel was doing. Raquel is just wearing a barista when she is standing in the window, like I documented on June 5th, 2025, while the impossible light activity is occurring inside, swiping across the leather seats. Now what you see today is an ongoing escalation of that impossible light. It's reaching up to the roof. It's swiping across the wall into the opposite side of the Starbucks cafe. And you also have what is the engineered light that's coming through the drive-through window, or at least that's the guise under which, and it's a unpersuasive guys, because for light that is impossible to occur, to manifest, there is no logical explanation for it. It is supernatural in and of itself. However, what the entity does is engages in what is seeking to, by its appearance, provide what is a subconscious in your mind. You connect the sun outside with what is light that you see all over everything. You're not connecting the sun outside with this impossible light that's swarming inside of the air like tornadoes of light. But this is what the entity is doing when they're at the drive-through, for example, and the drive-through window opens and then you see the impossible light. It's something that you've never paid attention to, but it is absolutely impossible, especially while the fake sun is over the 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles at the same time, and especially when the fake sun is over, like I'm documenting on this day in 2024, that the fake sun is remaining over the Ovid Family Community Library at the same time. And I am on the same day in 2025 referring to this video where I'm analyzing the Ovid Family Community Library, which is another facilitating venue where this third party that's gang stalking inside of the cafe on her phone, sitting in the corner while all this light is accosting all over the place, is not a demonstration. It's not helping Starbucks. It's not stating that it's not harassing. It's not stating that it's not psychological torture. It's referencing the fact that it is malicious and it's entirely demonic, and she is a third party engaging in that P.O.C. The entity is engaging in its ongoing pacing amongst the use of communication devices while they are monitoring the evidence against them, and bringing in this third party who was monitoring is not evidence, limiting the fact or removing the fact that it is ongoing psychological harm, harassment of a federal nature pursuant to domestic terrorism, and a sexually violent harm. Monitoring my vagina in the bathroom, which this white woman is also doing when she's stalking in the corner amongst engineered lights, a tornado of lights inside of the cafe, and that's because monitoring is ongoing. Any person of any race can engage in the same thing, and it is equally unlawful criminal monitoring that Starbucks is engaging in, and Starbucks is admittedly doing so with impunity and malice. While you see those tornadoes of light in the cafe, and you will pay attention to what was documented on June 4th, 2025, when the light activity is much less pervasive. The escalation of that impossible light activity is speaking to, again, the fear of my documentation, the weight of my documentation, while the Ontario Police have been engaged in an ongoing obsessive campaign, stalking moment by moment, literally, as I exit the Ontario Ovitt Family Community Library on June 6, 2025, as I exit the Starbucks on June 3rd, 2025, as I exit the, as I'm at the museum, and traveling back toward the Tabor Professional. As I remain at the Tabor Professional building, the Ontario Police Department is following step for step, and I'm documenting that in helicopter. And there's an absence of coincidence. That's literally traditional stalking. What you are also tying together is the fact that the fake sun and the fake moon is over me, and the tornadoes of light, the impossible light, the multiple shadows at nightfall is how that exists. The engineered light that's coexisting with the demon-possessed who are pacing inside of Starbucks and are pacing on Euclid Avenue with the possible light. At nightfall, that's what's coexisting when they are driving their vehicles and walking in on the sidewalk and all around me, in other words, and also coating what is everything with engineered light. That is the understanding. That is understanding the specific environment, which is tied to the stalking that is relevant to what the Los Angeles Police Department is doing at this time of year in that specific environment, and what the Ontario Police Department is doing, while third parties like this Caucasian female who's inside of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue at 4:46 p.m. after I captured my video, which is documenting the P.O.C. At what is 3:42 p.m. This is referring to the complicity of the people of the state who are gang stalking, with knowledge that this terrorism and that this gang stalking system is being documented. That's relevant to malice and impunity. So I want to make sure that that is relevant. That's a threat. It's not suggesting that Starbucks is going to be subject to any less amount of damages, and it's not suggesting that Starbucks is going to be any less subject to the punitive aspect, which is with regard to a federal prosecution. It's an unlawful threat. It's malice and impunity, while a third party comes and engages in loitering in relevant position, which is what they're doing inside of Starbucks. So I want to be clear on this video, which I'm going to play next. You're going to listen to what LAPD is doing, which is gang stalking me on this day. And at 10 seconds, at 1 minute and 52 seconds, at 6 minutes and 32 seconds, and at 42 minutes and 25 seconds, the Los Angeles Police Department is engaging in what is ongoing demonic means of harassment. They are engaging in what is obstruction of justice, harassing me by gang stalking me in helicopter, more so in this video because I am documenting and providing the juxtaposition of what the entity is doing in Ontario, California, as I use same time of year analysis, same day analysis like I'm doing now in 2025. This is what I'm doing in 2024 on the same day at the same time, when Ontario, which is again the Ovitt Family Community Library where I was at yesterday, and the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking under a fake sun that is not over the Ovitt Family Community Library today like it was yesterday, which I documented in the morning while I'm standing at the entrance, at the exit, at the entrance. You will see the fake sun. You will also see at 6 p.m. and at 6:10 p.m. the Ontario Police Department proven to be stalking in an environment that is approving a very specific method of stalking in helicopters that is done in concert with the entity who is in that engineered light under that light source, which is identifying the fact that I specifically am being targeted. The absence of that light source over the Ovitt Family Community Library today in 2025 is relevant to what I'm documenting last year on this day, where LAPD is repeatedly arriving on video in order to witness what is domestic terrorism and psychological torture, while police departments are stalking pursuant to criminal surveillance, and they're gang stalking in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And this is what LAPD is doing, and LAPD is doing the exact same thing. This is stalking me in a specific environment where that is known, that it's specific who is being stalked and how are they engaging in what is gang stalking, which is a pattern, an unabated program rather, of psychological torture, of harassment, of what is terrorism by the police who are stalking, and they are mentally ill. They're violent sex offenders and they're psychopaths while they are engaging in this P.O.C. And that is also captured in video as the LAPD engaged in following me around and flying in circles around me everywhere that I'm at, doing this also when I'm remaining in my apartment and when I am at work at Alvarado Gardens, where the entity kept the fake sun over me all day long. This is what's going on in Ontario. And what you will listen to is that the entity that's keeping the fake sun over the Ovitt Family Community Library on this day in 2022, the absence of the fake sun is speaking to what is not the natural environment. And if it was the natural environment, then number one, what's documented in 2022, which is what I'm addressing on this in this video that you're going to listen to, captured in 2024 on June 7th, that's speaking to the absence of the natural environment, and that's the significance of this documentation, which you are recognizing the specific environment. The environment where criminal surveillance and targeting, stalking is underway, psychological torture is underway by police, who don't have authority under the law. And this is also relevant to the kidnapping that the Ontario Police Department committed on May 29th, 2025 in the specific environment, meaning they are gang stalking me and committed kidnapping with the intent to obstruct justice because of knowledge pursuant to surveillance that I am documenting this criminal surveillance system, which it shares with the Los Angeles Police Department and many other police departments. But I have a wealth of documentation of LAPD and Ontario PD in particular, while they are under the fake sun, necessarily more than one of them, while I'm in LA on June 7, 2024, and I'm in Ontario, specifically not at the Ovitt Family Community Library, which is also relevant. The sun is not over the roof of the Ovitt Family Community Library like it is on this day in 2022, which is what I was comparing what the LAPD is doing to me in Los Angeles, where the sun is not over both places over my head at the same time. And it's the same analysis today. In 2025, I'm back in Ontario and the sun is not over the roof like you see it on video at the same time where the LAPD is stalking, conclusively proven to be stalking in that environment that defies nature. And it also helps for you to see those tornadoes of light inside of this cafe where the people of the state are demonstrating severe mental illness of a psychopathic level where they're engaging in what is targeting together, and it's supposed to appear under the guise of anonymity and strangers. But that is, I will state, irrelevant. It's relevant with regard to mental illness diagnosis, but it's irrelevant with regard to the government's pattern of conduct. It's necessarily happening amongst an entity, and the entity is convinced that having a bunch of strangers that surround you, that don't address you, that act like nothing is happening and nothing is suspicious, nothing is weird, nothing is uncommon, that is supposed to draw more attention than the engineered light that is swirling like a tornado inside of the cafe, then their shadows that are appearing above their head, then the swarms of light that are moving inside of the building, and then the fake sun that is outside of the building above the roof for the duration of the day, like I'm documenting at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. That's the identification of Starbucks engaging in criminal surveillance with the police department, who are gang stalking by crossing path while that fake sun is over me, speaking to a very specific person that the Ontario police are harassing and threatening at the same time that I'm documenting the criminal pattern of conduct and committed in concert with the people of the state. This is directly relevant to what LAPD is doing in the exact same environment, which is impossible to be the natural environment. LAPD is gang stalking and Ontario PD is gang stalking on the same day at the same time in the specific environment. All right, and this is relevant to the absence of the sun also being over the Ovitt Family Community Library. But you also know that and this is my last note before I play this video on June 7th, 2024, that begins at 2:37 and it ends at 3:45 p.m. I start the video in this cafe at Starbucks at 3:42 p.m. So during this video that I'm capturing in 2024, the fake sun doesn't move from being over 1810 North Alvarado Street. And there is no provision in the natural environment that this third party that's engaging what is stalking in the path amongst what is impossible light activity, that is swarming inside of the cafe, communicating a threat, an unlawful and impermissible threat with the police, who are engaging in a pattern of kidnapping while she is monitoring with Starbucks personnel and doing so under the failed guise of what is supposed to be engaging in what is lawful conduct. It's threatening conduct and it's also psychopathic. It's entirely sick and it's also perverted while they monitor my genitalia in the bathroom of this cafe. But this is what the people of the state engage in, and it's exhibiting what is an intent and purpose and a design of a system, as opposed to just the Ontario police being corrupt and just the Los Angeles Police Department being corrupt. The entity is engaging in what is the formation of drinks, as you can hear in the background, while the tornado of lights are occurring. Starbucks is monitoring, and Starbucks employs demons, and Starbucks Starbucks patrons are demons, and I am here subject to the pattern of conduct while they are threatening me together and criminally monitoring me together, and they are the same entity that kidnapped me together. All right, the entity did so because of my documentation, and engaging in what is the ongoing campaign of stalking with the Ontario police is also supposed to be a distraction from you paying attention to what happened already last year. The case against the state of California is already complete. The case against the U.S. government is already complete. I will remind you, however, about more motivation behind the kidnapping that the Ontario Police Department, which B. Hook, L. Martinez, and C. Torres are going to federal prison for. Nathan Morgan is going to federal prison for it, while you're looking at the Ontario police under the 3:42 p.m. fake sun in concert with the LAPD, who are gang stalking me in the same way that the Ontario Police Department is under the fake sun at 3:42 p.m. in Los Angeles, where LAPD is on 4 separate occasions, at 10 seconds, at 1 minute and 52 seconds, at 6 minutes and 32 seconds, and at 42 minutes and 25 seconds. You will see them flying around, flying by me, and flying over my head, while the fake sun is right over the top of my head, in the same manner that you see it here at Starbucks, which is separate and distinct from the impossible light that's swirling inside of this cafe, while Starbucks threatens my life and threatens my safety, and does so with the third-party gang-stalking patrons who are maliciously targeting with them on behalf of the corrupt Ontario Police Department. I want to be clear, the Ovid Family Community Library has no sun over it, while I am at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, which is impossible to be the natural environment as I am on this day at the same time in Los Angeles, where LAPD is engaging in state surveillance, exposing the entire state of California. But not only that, the entity had the fake sun over me at 6:10 and 6 p.m. at the Ovid Family Community Library, and I am documenting the fake sun over me on June 7th, which is today, June 7th, at the Ovid Family Community Library, which would be same time of year analysis as well. And the sun is not over the Ovid Family Community Library. The sun is over me at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And as I was there yesterday and it was over me at 6 p.m., it was there over me in the morning when I arrived. That is speaking to duration of time analysis, and it's also speaking to exclusivity. Where I am, that's where the specific environment is. Hence this third-party gang stalking demon in the corner inside of this cafe, monitoring with her communication devices and the people of the state whom she's communicating with on her communication device, openly stalking, and doing so as a means of what is impunity and malice. It's revealing the P.O.C. as you pay attention to what I'm addressing in this video that I'm going to play, and what's happening today and what's been happening since release from kidnapping by this third party who's inside of the cafe on her communication device. She's a kidnapper and she's a sex offender. She is the same with Tracy Banks, the entity that is gang stalking. All right, I want to be clear. I'm going to play this video. This is what's happening on June 7, 2024, and you are mindful about what the Ontario Police Department is doing on an ongoing basis. They are following around in helicopters based on not only the fact that the entity is conspiring to murder and kidnap, that's the whole purpose behind stalking by police officers who exercise fictitious authority under the law when they're stalking you, and they are also engaging in what is the conspiracy to criminally defame you, kidnap you, and that's what they attempted to do. They kidnapped me, but they attempted to kidnap me permanently by Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, and the entity is doing so with knowledge of the fact that I'm documenting, and that's why this third party in Starbucks belongs in federal prison. To be frank, this is an unlawful level of malice and impunity, and the people of the state are going to be penalized with regard to domestic terrorism accordingly. That level of malice is exactly what informs federal policy, and it's the same with the employees at Starbucks. It's the same with the demons residing at Woodside Senior Apartments. It's the same with the third parties residing at Alvarado Gardens, where LAPD is having a field day flying over me repeatedly throughout the course of this video, which I'm going to play on this podcast next, and you will see it on YouTube connected to the video that I captured at 3:42 the same time, where you will also see the Ontario Police Department crossing path gang stalking at the same time that the LAPD is during the course of the video, and the fake sun is over me at Starbucks in the same manner that it is over me at 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, okay? This is P.O.C. It's currently 4:57 p.m. And with regard to the impossible light activity, like I spoke to earlier, this impossible light activity that you see on video, it is Providence, because that is the exact same light activity that is ongoing as I've remained inside of the cafe, and I maintain documentation of it as it continuously occurred. And at this point, the entity is just maintaining an ongoing ceaseless cycle of it, and it is in line with the people of the state who are pacing in relevant position on Euclid Avenue. This is the population that is sharing space inside of the cafe. This third party is a part of that population, maintaining criminal presence, maintaining criminal activity, maintaining surveillance using her communication device, acting on behalf of the co-defendants who are pacing via traffic while they're engaging in what is psychological torture as an entity. They're engaging in domestic terrorism as an entity. They are gang stalking together. This is exactly what LAPD shares in, okay? This impossible light activity is occurring at 12:29 p.m. Again at 12:32 p.m. and this is before the entity escalated to the point of maintaining an ongoing ceaseless cycle of engineered light like you see in the video. This is the escalation of the threat. This is how you're analyzing the stalker, and this is based on knowledge of documentation. It's also an admission, a concession to surveillance. What it is that I document, the more probative my evidence, the more piercing my analysis, the more fearful the demons get, and the more threatening, the more psychotic, the more circus-like the light activity, which is the people of the state, it's their demonstration of mental illness. In the same way that flying in circles, following me around just to go engage in what is diaper-wearing demons that go dizzy, flying in circles all around me, everywhere that they're following me at, they're demonstrating mental illness. Psychopaths who are obsessed with following me around, they're obsessed with stalking me, and they do things like even use planes and helicopters to do so. And they're doing so with a whole population. And they are demon possessed in doing so. That's what's relevant with regard to this mental illness that's exhibited while stalkers are stalking with impossible light activity, while stalkers are stalking in helicopters, engaging in demonic pacing. So at 12:29 p.m., at 12:32 p.m., at 12:36 p.m., at 12:48 p.m., at 1:40 p.m., 1:43 p.m., 1:50 p.m., 1:51 p.m., 2 p.m., 2:10 p.m., 2:15 p.m., and I want to be clear, at 1:40 p.m., this third party, her name is Nisa, N as in Nancy, I.S.A. Nisa is at the register when I'm subject to impossible light activity that flashes behind this demon's head where I am looking. The demons are stalking me with light, so in the direction that I'm facing, that's where the impossible light occurs. When I'm standing at the register inside of this Starbucks, where she is gang stalking like every other person that works at this venue, evident by the fake sun that is not over the LAPD's helicopter at Alvarado Gardens, because they're in what is a specifically manufactured environment, which is demonic, pursuant to what is exposing Nisa as a stalker, a domestic terrorist, and a violent sex offender who was doing so while employed at a third-party facilitating venue referred to commercially as Starbucks. All right. This is the relevance of having a fake sun and having tornadoes of impossible light inside of the venue where she works. And I'm at the register in the presence of the group stalker Tracy Banks, who arrives. She arrives not because she frequents Starbucks. She arrives, which is evident under the fake sun, where the entity was keeping the fake sun over her apartment complex, both rising and setting. She is gang stalking me after engaging in what is a kidnapping, seeking to obstruct justice, and she is still gang stalking with impunity, regardless of Satan yielding gifts. She comes buying a drink. She comes after stating that I punched her in her face, after stating that I was slapping her, after stating that I am a threat to her. She comes bearing gifts and giving money that I did not call her for, did not contact her, did not tell her where I'm at, but I don't have to because she's gang stalking me. And you recall everything that came out of Tracy Banks's mouth with regard to her wanting me to leave, to get out, calling me out of my name because I'm speaking the truth about her character and her conduct, and the fact that she is a gang stalker. And she's in the venue where the fake sun is over me and the fake sun remains, and where the tornadoes of light are occurring, and where the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking by helicopter, just like they are inside of her apartment, where I'm documenting the fake sun rising and the fake sun setting, and impossible light inside of her apartment, framing the front door, sitting on the ceiling, migrating across the ceiling, flying in the air, vacillating across the kitchen cabinets, as I documented on video. It's the same pattern of conduct, and Tracy Banks is inside of Starbucks with Nisa at the register at approximately 1:40 p.m., where Nisa is engaged in psychological torture. That's a federal offense. She's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring while that impossible light is occurring, appearing on the wall where the menus are, at the same time that I look up to refer to her and tell her what I would like to order. She is gang stalking me with Tracy Banks. This is psychological torture as well. She is gang stalking me with all of the patrons inside of this cafe. That's an unlawful threat as well. It's also pursuant to the sex offense, where Nisa and all the rest of the people, including the Ontario Police, who you see on video at 342 gang stalking under the fake sun, monitoring my vagina. Okay, Nisa is a violent sex offender, and it is evident through the tornado of light that you see inside of this cafe that the entity so generously provided for you to know that no targeted individual is making up any detail about the P.O.C, as I have established it and proven what the demon-possessed are doing, what the corrupt government is doing. The entity does it out of fear. The entity does it to communicate a threat. The entity does it because it knows that it's being documented and that the evidence is being published. And this is also why Tracy Banks and the Ontario Police Department, who are gang stalking, engaged in kidnapping, and so did the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. The entity does so, again, while I am documenting. So those timestamps are referring to what is, again, moments where the impossible light was occurring. The entity has escalated the unlawful threat with regard to the maintaining an ongoing cycle of that impossible light activity, which is exactly what I'm documenting on video at 3:42 p.m. This is what the entity's been maintaining for hours, and that's based on my documentation as I published the June 6, 2025 podcast. As I engage in what is documenting the people of the state on today, June 7th, this is when the light activity immediately escalates. It becomes more concentrated. It becomes more radical. It becomes more spectacular. That's an unlawful threat. And while the people of the state come in and loiter inside of the cafe, that's a prosecution of the state. It's informing federal policy with regard to prosecuting the people of the state who are engaging in domestic terrorism and psychological torture with the government, and furtherance of murder and kidnapping, which is under no circumstances going to be tolerated. And that level of facilitation is going to be met with, again, not only diagnoses, but imprisonment, federal imprisonment. It is currently 5:04 p.m. The following video is documented on June 7, 2024. At 3:45 p.m. is when the video ends. It begins at 2:37 p.m. You are mindful about what the entity has been doing since Tracy Banks had me kidnapped by the entity that relied on her to engage in criminal summoning. All right, so since June 3rd, I've been at Starbucks. The entity's I've been on Omnitrans. I've been showing you the fake sun that's remaining over Starbucks, and then you're mindful about what the entity is doing on this day in 2024. on June 7, 2024, because it's not just the fact that it's June 7th. Remember, it's the time of year. So what the entity is doing with the fake sun over me on this day in 2024 at what is 2:37 p.m. where LAPD is gang stalking very heavily in this video, you're mindful of what's happening from essentially March, April, May, June, July, August, September. This is the same time of year analysis, where under no circumstances, in other words, is the sun ever going to be in the way that I've documented over Woodside Senior Apartments from sunrise until sunset at all. There will never be any sun over me at what is on the bus of Omnitrans coming from the city of Colton, from the city of Fontana, like I documented on June 3rd. There will never be any sun that's in alignment to the window of the bus that I'm on, Route 61. The same bus that I'm on in the morning, like I documented on June 6, 2025, at 11:19 in the morning, when I'm on that same route at 5 in the evening, and the fake sun is in the window of that same bus route, going in the same direction. Where the entity is keeping the fake sun at the same time of year, there's no provision for any of that which the entity has been doing under the fake sun, showing that they're all stalking. And they're all exhibiting mental illness while they act like nothing is happening with regard to the tornadoes of light, with regard to the enduring sun over the building, with regard to the ongoing amplified helicopter activity, the helicopter following everywhere. Everyone is engaging in that. That's malice. They're exhibiting psychopathic and antisocial disorders, those who are acting in furtherance of targeting someone in order to psychologically torture that person, in furtherance of kidnapping that person. And it is actually illogical, because when you are looking at what they're engaging in, it absolutely makes no sense that they are looking at that they're in the presence of it, and they are necessarily feigning ignorance about it, and that it's nothing to pay attention to. It is outright on its surface. It's disconcerting, and you would look like, where did that come from? The people that are monitoring, the people the state are monitoring, they're literally incriminated by that behavior, and it's a pattern. It's a pattern of conduct. Not only that, they're incriminated whether they acknowledge it or not while the police are gang stalking. They're incriminated whether they acknowledge it or not while the fake sun is over their apartment complex, while the fake sun is over their vehicle, such as Omnitrans, while the fake sun is over me and you're gang stalking by planes and helicopters, the department, that government body, while the fake sun is over the public library, while the fake sun is over the Starbucks cafe. Okay, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. and their mental illness is clearly put on display while they engage in that very highly unpersuasive and unnatural conduct. It's as unnatural as pacing around in engineer light, which is what the demon-possessed population are doing while they're gang stalking. All right, it's 5:07 p.m. The following is documented regarding LAPD gang stalking in the same way that the City of Ontario, the people of the state of California is gang stalking, as I remain in the facilitating venue, which is Ontario, California. P.O.C. So I want you to look at the great distance here, and the entity is amplifying helicopter activity into my office. This is speaking to what is a system of group stalking. Group stalking is entirely demonic. This great distance is nothing that I would ever hear. It's nothing that would disturb my workday. It's nothing that would disrupt the peace and quiet in my office. It's nothing that I would even have knowledge of occurring around me, but for what is the demonic feature, which is amplification of the audible activity that a demon is engaging in to target you in the specific environment, which is a part of the specific environment. It's maintaining the element of audible activity while stalking spectacularly in helicopters. That's the entity acting directly. The sirens is the entity acting directly. It's an ongoing admission to the state stalking you in relevant position in the specific environment, using lights in relevant position, criminally facilitating the people of the state who are group stalking in concert with that state in relevant position in the specific environment where the light source is remaining directly over my head. This is the same tree right here where you saw the light source at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is the same location where I was standing here, where Maria Solis Alvarez, a group stalker affiliated with the third-party group stalking company, speaker companies, an illegitimate company, the malicious guise under which federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. That is why the specific environment is at my place of work. All right, that's why it's occurring in the workplace, because Speaker Companies is an illegitimate company. Speaker Companies is exhibiting to you, to the world, how the United States is monitoring American citizens by the people that live in the country. They're referred to as the people of the state. The pattern within the pattern is, while I document and prosecute the state with the evidence, it will arrive and provide more evidence against the people. This is Exhibit A, and this is the entity's pattern while they know that they're being documented, and that's why the terrorist organization, the LAPD, has met its time. They're going to be removed from existence. All right, that's the pattern within the pattern in the specific environment, and they were flying at a great distance, amplifying the sound of helicopter. Let me be clear, flying directly over my head is not rebutting what exactly you just saw. That is an admission that they are indeed engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, aware of every word that's being uttered about their criminal conduct, and they are also at the same time making manifest their mentally ill condition while psychopaths are aware of their criminal conduct being exposed. That's what that exposes. Flying over my head in helicopter seconds later after I'm speaking to what is the demonic method of group stalking. Flying at a great distance in the path. The light source is over my head. Never is that going to rumble my office. I'm not going to hear it. I'm not even going to know that it's happening. What am I doing? Documenting 24/7, waking me up, sounding helicopter activity at the moment that I wake up, at the moment I start documenting, at the moment I'm uploading something onto the internet, at the moment that I'm speaking about the criminal conduct. What arrives over my head? The pattern within the pattern. Demons that are providing evidence against its criminal co-conspirator, the people of the state. Everybody at this property is going to federal prison. The state's criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring is repeatedly, ceaselessly underway, and it is entirely psychotic, and they are of that specific condition. So you can see me. Everyone at this property is what I'm doing a screen recording because I'm going to show you where the entity is maintaining a light source at 238 in addition to that demonic behavior that you just saw, which is first of all stalking in a helicopter. That's revealing an appetite to terrorize and torture someone. That's demonic. Okay, that's psychotic. That is highly malicious. That is abnormal. That's despicable. It's criminal. It's underway by a government, a terrorist organization masquerading as the Los Angeles Police Department, and that's going to be the removal, the demise of the LAPD. The entity is doing so within what is a pattern by these corrupt law enforcement agencies who are group stalking. These are terrorist organizations. They're not legitimate police departments. They're not legitimate law enforcement agencies. And so I'm referring to them based on what they are doing. And they are engaging in what is terrorism in the United States, and with knowledge of the fact that what they are doing is, first of all, not a secret. That is against the rights of one who seeks to enforce their rights, and they continue to do so with knowledge of the fact, even seeking to obstruct justice and silence, if not falsely depict that targeted individual. None of that is going to work when you have evidence of that system, and every intention, every attempt to fictitiously, well, I don't even want to say attempt, every effort at exercising fictitious authority, when you want to masquerade like you have jurisdiction as a court, as a sheriff, as a police officer, department, etc., you're going to federal prison for that. They're engaged in criminal surveillance in the state of California, and it's of a demonic nature. They act in concert with the people of the state, all right? She and her children are going to be prosecuted like the terrorists that they are, and they're acting with the terrorist organization in the state of California. She's engaged in what is crossing a path. She's engaged in federal stalking with the people of the state. She's right now engaged in what is psychotic pacing. The vehicle is moving in real time. It's moving in front of her while she's walking toward her vehicle, and she's monitoring with the abundances who are in their vehicle engaged in surveillance. The entity, as you heard with sirens, they're driving all around, sounding light activity and also sounding their sirens while they all know that they're being exposed. And what I want to speak to is that the fact of the light source, this is speaking to everyone's condition. That's everyone whose criminal conduct that I just broke down for you. They're all demons engaged in group stalking, the elements of monitoring, all three. And the entity is doing so with real-time knowledge. This is federal stalking upon group stalking. Federal stalking referencing Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. You have what is the entity maintaining an unnatural environment. The sun's not going to be here at 9:03 in the morning, and I am standing at literally the same entrance door as I am here. And all I'm going to do is turn around, and then that's how you know what you're looking at, which is a demon. That's the same demon you saw, engineer light moving across building 1816. This is called impunity. She's going to be dragged to federal prison like the terrorist that she is. Jeanette Ramirez and Luis Ramos, aware of their criminal conduct. That's sirens, impossible light across a dumpster, as though the sun would ever be in this condition. And while you look at this impossible light activity, that's demonic pacing, driving by while this one stays stationary, and then this one's going to drive by and engineer light drags across a dumpster. And let me also point out what this is to you. This is the psychopath. This is the mental illness that's made manifest, because this entity would rather me focus on this, thinking that it's a distraction from the evidence of that criminal system that they're engaging in. So I want to point out every aspect of the criminal system, every point by where you are understanding the threat that the people of the state are and the state is to the public safety concern in this country, because what you're looking at is the demonstration of demon possession. That's not sunlight. That's going to ricochet. This is supposedly the sun. That's a vehicle that's sitting underneath the sun, and yet you have a light that's appearing on the side of the dumpster, and then you have the entity that's stalking a helicopter. That's literally the federal raid for this whole property. Just want to point that out. What we're going to focus on now, because that's the whole prosecution of the state of California. All right, the entity is doing so on an ongoing basis. This is occurring in the workplace. This is the demise of a third-party company, that is Speaker Companies. Speaker Companies is engaged in and is criminally facilitating the state's criminal pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. That's why you have the ongoing course of conduct amongst the people of the state that live at the real property that is owned by third-party group stalker R. Todd Speaker, who was also a documented group stalker in Palo Alto. This is documented in December of 2023, which, by the way, is grounds of federal prison for him specifically, in addition to what is his company, criminal facilitation, by way of using a company for the malicious purpose of a government to keep an American citizen under surveillance. You have what is the specific environment that's at the workplace, the real property owned by a third party. When you want to provide your company, you want to provide your business, you want to provide whatever it is that you have at your disposal where you live, for example, whatever it is, your skill set, then as a property manager, you want to lend your property management company, you want to lend your employees of that company that are facilitating that state's criminal system, which is exactly what you see occurring outside while I am in the workplace. The entity is going to be prosecuted for that. He's going to be published as a group stalker maintained by the Department of Justice. He is witnessing every moment of his exposure through the documentation. He's fully aware of it, fully cognizant of it. Documented acts of obstruction of justice to that end, for which I want to be clear is grounds of federal prison, while the so-called human resources director, a speaker company's third-party group stalker, also documented engagement and in concert with that entity that flew over right now in video while the light source is over me at approximately 2:39 in the afternoon. The light source is still here, remember, at 4:12 p.m., the same location in that same corrupt law enforcement agency, which is properly referred to as that terrorist organization, because that's exactly what they are and that's exactly what they're doing. All right, that terrorist organization flew over my head at the same doorway entrance at 4:12 p.m. where the sun would never be present at this point in the day. Don't forget the sunrise outside of my living room window yesterday at 7:59 in the morning. Don't forget that I live at the same property where I work. So let's look at that again, and then I'm going to show you where the sun is actually. You saw the sunrise right here. I'm in building 1806. This is my living room window. This is where I'm showing you the so-called sunrise through my living room window. And I'm reminding you about what's the sunrise while I'm inside of the vehicle parked at 630 North Fern Avenue in Ontario, California, where the two are never happening at the same time. That's impossible. But what you do recognize as a pattern is that the light source, which is not possibly the sun, remains directly in alignment to me wherever it is that I wake up in the morning and wherever it is that I lay my head in the evening. That's where the sun will set as well, which is speaking to what is absolutely impossible. Because I wake up and I go to sleep not only at the same place, but literally the same location, whether that be sleeping outside at a building, as I've documented in Ontario, California, which is not sharing any sky space with the living room window of 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, to be seen outside of the bedroom window of this same building right here. After 5 p.m., 6, 7 p.m., like you saw Luke Powell group stalking with that engineered light inside of my apartment. He's going to federal prison, him and his girlfriend. All right, engaging in what is an act of affection in order to monitor me, which is the whole unfortunate and very disturbing pattern where the people of the state are actually focused and everything that they're doing is actually serving to monitor someone else. It's about me. It's not actually about them sucking each other's face, and that in and of itself is disgusting. But you have what are demons that are kissing on each other, and they're engaging in the elements of monitoring while the LAPD flew over my apartment, which you saw yesterday after 7 p.m. and I'm still on the same property right here at the management office at 2:38. It's currently 2:48 p.m. The entity is engaging in what is behavior suggesting that the sun is still in perfect alignment with my bedroom window after 7 p.m. where you see Luke Powell group stalking with his some female, I'm just going to call it that, with some female after 7 p.m. and as though sunlight would be seen inside of my bedroom in any location, particularly on my ceiling and all over my bedroom walls and spreading across my carpet and underneath my bed. Well, it is also present in alignment to me in the morning. No one's forgotten what the entity engaged in yesterday, and it's demonic, and it's demonic today. The entity is doing so while it is engaging in what is the hallmark, stalking, flying at a great distance away, and yet I'm hearing that helicopter activity. That's the demonic feature of stalking with amplified audible activity. Amplification is demonic activity. It is the malice whereby an entity is targeting you and seeking to appear as though they're not. That's to falsely depict the targeted individual that is supposed to be written off and discarded as imagining things, a paranoid schizophrenic. What are you talking about? That helicopter is a far distance away. I'm breaking down to you the criminal system, and this is a government that's very highly malicious. It is entirely stripped of all legitimacy. And you are also recognizing that psychotic and level of desperation when you see the people of the state such as Tiffany Sherez and the entity group stalking. Those are demons driving fire trucks and ambulances right now, acting in an act. Not only is this frenzy
excuse me, not only are these demons in a frenzy right now, but they are also in a state of panic and desperation while they still obsessively engage in that criminal system. That is a public safety concern. This is a population that is right now ticking time bombs, that are walking around free in positions in society where they are posing a threat to the lives of American citizens. In the courts, and amongst the law enforcement agencies, in the medical field, around children, around the elderly, and they are engaged in what is very highly psychotic targeting systems, and they sought to do it secretly. And you're looking at what is their mental illness that is made manifest when it is exposed, and they still continue to do it. They're both terrified, but not terrified enough to stop doing it, and they engage in desperate acts such as flying over my head in a helicopter, which is nothing other than an mission in real time in a specific environment, while demonstrating to the world what demonic activity, what demon possession looks like, and failing to in any way protect anyone that you are group stalking with in relevant position. So with that, I want to remind you about what the entity was doing at which would be 2:38 p.m. I believe yesterday. Today in 2022, I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library, and on that day I had already heavily documented the entity. Capturing the engineered environment, capturing the phenomenon one time is more than sufficient. And in June 2022, I have so heavily documented the pattern of conduct. On June 2022, just so you can see, today is the 7th. Yeah, I'm documenting the entity group stalking by helicopter, just like you see now. They're group stalking 24/7. So this is while I'm sleeping outside, a whole government, a whole population of people. I am that important. That's not a compliment. It's because they serve Satan. And let me be clear, Satan has an obsession with those who serve the Lord Jesus Christ, with those who belong to him. Okay? The entity is engaging with his group stalking me 24/7, including while I sleep, and I am outside. Okay, I'm sleeping outside, and the entity's group stalking in helicopters, flying in circles all night long, in engineered light. And this is what I'm documenting during the day. I am at the Ovid Family Community Library. The entity is maintaining the light source. I am, looks like at the morning, I'm just summarizing where I'm at this morning. I'm nowhere near Los Angeles. In other words, is my point. At no point in the day is the sun going to be directly over my head at the Senior Center. This is adjacent to the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library. I'm here at, looks like 10:23 in the morning on June 7, 2022. I'm capturing my location. I'm facing the parking lot of the senior apartments. This is the Ovid Family Community Library, where I am present again, remaining for the duration of the day. I'm here. I'm arriving at this point at 10:23, which is the point of my documentation. When I arrive at 10:23, the light source arrives as I arrive. It's not already over the Ovid Family Community Library like I've documented at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the light source is over me at the library already. I'm not walking toward the library and the sun is already there over the building. No, as I walk toward the building, the light source remains over my head en route to the building, which is, again, the pattern of conduct of stalking with light, showing what everyone in that environment is doing. They're group stalking together, and they are of a specific condition. These are demons, and they're doing so in concert and on behalf of a corrupt government. That's actually a terrorist organization masquerading as a constitutionally based government in the United States. I'm talking about the state of California. Okay, so it's shown through the unnatural environment. And what am I referencing? I've already shown the entity maintaining the light source at the Ovid Family Community Library at 8 o'clock, and the terrorist organization, the Ontario Police Department, is sitting in that parking lot, fully aware of what I'm documenting, convinced at that point in time, at that point in the documentation, where they also did not understand what they were being surrounded with regard to the evidence of their criminal conduct and their demon possession. They sat there in plain sight, in plain view, group stalking, which all the world is going to take a look back at now, knowing the full picture, knowing all of the weight of the evidence and the malice with which that entity engages in that criminal system to the demise of the targeted individual, thinking that you can falsely depict that person, and stalking and terrorizing you in plain sight. All of that is reasonably construed and deducted when you are looking at that evidence, where I am at the Ovid Family Community Library at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the light source is already there, as opposed to what I'm showing you now while I'm en route to that library. That's the point of what I'm capturing, and it's not over the Ovid Family Community Library. It remains over me as I travel to that Ovid Family Community Library, and which is the pattern of conduct. There is no sun that's going to be anywhere over the Ovid Family Community Library while it's remaining over me. All right, and so this is where I'm at on this day in 2022, 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, which is also speaking to the fact that there's no sun that's ever going to be over Alvarado Gardens at 1800 through 1818 North Alvarado Street. And in addition to what is conclusive evidence of federal group stalking and monitoring in Los Angeles, you have what is the entity maintaining, in other words, providing a generous, hearty helping of evidence against the state, because the entity's light source is here all day long. And then in that specific environment, What is the entity doing? Stalking directly in fire trucks, police vehicles, and ambulances. That is criminal summoning, like you just heard right now, while a light source is over my head, scientifically impossible, and it's also documented here for the duration of the day. Remember the sunrise yesterday at 7:59 in the morning, and the sunset yesterday after 7 p.m., while it's over my head at the same property where I live and work at 2:38 in the afternoon. That's the pattern of conduct, and that is, again, every single last person you see, including Jeanette Balderas, who has literally given up her any appearance. This is somebody, that level of desperation, what you saw, openly volunteering impossible light activity. Oh, the demon sought to hide that. Let me be clear. My documentation is so heavily capturing it. The entity is now engaging in what is a desperate act of distraction. They would. This is a question amongst the corrupt. Amongst criminals, you're talking about what is a compromise, the lesser of two evils. Will be captured. We'd rather settle for being captured stalking with engineered light than for you to create what is the greater pattern. And there is no avoiding that. I just want to be clear. I'm just pointing out what is the self-destructive and futile and defeated mind state of a demon-possessed and corrupt entity that is surrounded with evidence. Okay, and these are the tactics that the demon-possessed do. This is why you are seeing impossible light activity sitting in plain sight, and this demon is not fleeing. Okay. That's also documented as impunity. That's why Jeanette Balderas is going to federal prison. And that's why her children are going to be removed from her. What she provides willingly and openly is going to be used in federal court to permanently remove those minor children from her custody, her and Luis Ramos. Okay, that directed light conduct is evidence of terrorism. Terrorism is not going to be tolerated in this country from no person naturally born here or not a natural born citizen, where under such circumstances you are going to be deported. Whatever permanent citizenship you thought that you had, or naturalization you thought that you permanently had, that's not the case. Terrorism is the grounds upon which you will find that citizenship revoked. Okay, the entity is maintaining a light source, as I started this video, at 2:37 p.m., 2:38 p.m., as I have documented. Same time of year analysis, which was yesterday in 2022. So let's recall what was happening at 2:38 p.m. while you are looking at what remains over my leasing office at the same time. Okay, while you just saw that whole iteration of the pattern of conduct, you saw and heard demons going crazy, going in a frenzy, both because they're engaging in the elements of monitoring. They are both group stalking, and this is also a nervous panic that the demon possessed are exhibiting, and that's a threat to you. This is a mentally unstable population who persist in engaging in criminally targeting you, and they are I am able to speak to what is their state, their defeated mind state. What are the demons? What is their purpose in engaging in this conduct? Their pattern of conduct is clear, and then also you're talking about what is the temperature of the demons. What is it? What is their purpose? What is their mind state? In which I'm able to discern that. But that's not. Let me point something else out to you. That's nothing that has to do with the evidence that is tangible that I'm going to prosecute them with. I'm giving you ongoing context. I'm speaking to the demented mind state. Okay, so with regard to what indeed you are listening to, it is reasonably construed as a mentally unwell population, as you are listening to elements of group stalking, not sirens. It's audible activity. It's the specific environment. So everything takes on a clinical nature. So you don't have just sirens as though there's an emergency. There is no legitimate emergency outside of the targeted individual's life who remains under threat, because they're subject to this targeting system. The entity is sounding sirens for purposes of criminal monitoring. It's audible activity and light activity while they're group stalking in the path. And they're enabling everybody else in the path to group stalk you as well. It's an exceedingly horrendous crime, egregious crime, while a demon is driving an ambulance. Supposed to have a totally different focus, okay? Serving another, aiding another, okay? Critically at a critical state with regard to their life. They're group stalking with that. Those are demons, psychopaths driving ambulances, walking into hospitals, by the way. But that's the reality, and that's the breakdown of what the entity is engaging in. You're listening to a panic, and that activity picks up the more that I speak to the criminal conduct and the elements that are underway, the more that I speak to the demonic behavior. The entity does what? Flies over in helicopter in closer proximity, which is a threat. You're analyzing everything that the demons are doing. All right, and they do so while because you are failing at trying. The entity, this demonic entity, is trying to, albeit failing, at seeking to try to contradict or provide an explanation. They want to impliedly respond to what I'm exposing about them. So the entity will fly over in a helicopter, and while you're doing that, you are providing evidence. You are admitting that you're stalking. you're also providing evidence of your demon possession. You're also doing it out within the pattern of conduct. That's not an ongoing coincidence. You know exactly what's being exposed about you. You're monitoring the documentation. All of this is also legally relevant. That's what the entity does while it's flying directly over the parking lot over my head in helicopter, moments after I'm speaking to the impossibility that I would ever hear that helicopter that's at a great distance. It doesn't take 2 seconds for that helicopter to get at that great distance. It was already at a distance. The entity does use more than one helicopter, but I want to be clear, the entity maintains real-time knowledge, and the entity is always failing at, but admitting at the same time, while they seek to impliedly respond to their criminal conduct that I'm breaking down to the world. Okay? That's what the entity is doing. All right, so I want to speak to the malice and that psychotic intention. That is absolutely demented. It's disturbing. It's disconcerting because these are government actors. That is a terrorist organization. That is not a law enforcement agency. Secondly, the entity is engaging in what is sounding sirens, and you will hear the pickup in activity the more that I'm pointing out their criminal conduct. That pickup in activity are both the elements of monitoring, and it's also the frenzied nature of the demons who are witnessing their exposure. It is both. And that's what I'm speaking to. I am speaking to not only the criminal conduct, I am revealing to you as they are, actually, I am nothing other than narrating what you are witnessing. As you hear all of the elements of monitoring, as you are seeing the elements of monitoring, the system underway, and it's occurring in the specific environment. The sun is not going to be over my head at Alvarado Gardens at this apartment complex while it's remaining over me at the Ovid Family Community Library at the same time, which I'm going to show you this video right now, at 215 E.C. Street in Ontario, California, which is what happened yesterday in 2022 at the same time. While you're looking at what's the pattern, it just so happens to be that scientific impossibility, that phenomenon, in other words, is a coincidence. While the entity, I'm also capturing an ongoing pattern of, man, helicopters are always flying over my head, following me everywhere that I go. Even if I go to the grocery store, there's always somebody in a helicopter flying over my car, flying in the distance, flying around. And if I don't see them, I'm always hearing them. That's a pattern in that, amongst that scientific impossibility. That's a pattern in and of itself, and it's demonic. It's demonic. The way that you can hear something that's way too far for you to be able to naturally hear. That's not speaking to or in any way reflecting on that targeted individual. That's speaking to the condition, the demented condition, the malicious means whereby an entity is targeting you. Okay? Because you're supposed to be imagining it. But for the P.O.C. The pattern of conduct, the documentation, the evidence of a government targeting you. With the people who are no longer, you're not exercising any independent rights. You're not exercising any privacy. Tiffany Sherez is acting with impunity. She is openly a team terrorist in California. She's going to be treated like the terrorist that she is. When her body is thrown against the ground, when she's arrested, when she's treated like the threat to American society that she is, okay? And I'm just giving you examples about how terrorism is not going to be tolerated, just like any other threat that would come across the jurisdiction of this country. All right, and we would go to any lengths to protect those American citizens. That's what this is. They're domestic enemies, and they're going to be treated accordingly. While she so casually engages in what is terrorism in open sight, sirens, helicopters, light source, over your head, that's all manner of a threat. Even your casual way in which you engage in state terrorism with the government, that's a threat. Okay, and this is how you're going to be treated at federal court, because the judge is going to look at that, and it's going to be also used. The whole body of evidence of the P.O.C. is going to be used against her while she's openly and still with knowledge of the fact that her criminal system that she's participating in that she's participating in with impunity and malice and with real-time knowledge. All of that is going to be used against her, because that's exactly what's underway, and it's called malice. So this is the illusion that you're making a separation in your mind between the terrorist organization called the LAPD today. They're going to be disbanded and removed tomorrow, okay? But you have also Tiffany Sherez. And I want to let you know, actually, there's no separation. There's an illusion of a separation there. You're talking about what is direct engagement by the state and vicarious engagement by the state, who you see walking by me in the parking lot. And that's group stalking. Tiffany Sherez represents the state. Everything that she says is stated by the state. Everything she's doing is in concert and on behalf of the state. And it is the same thing with speaker companies. It is the same thing with Amazon Prime. It is the same thing with Budget, who you see group stalking at Silverview Townhomes in relevant position, in the same exact specific environment, under the same sky space in relevant position, while that same terrorist organization is stalking in helicopters all day and all night. It's the same pattern of conduct. So I just want to point that out, and that's the context that I'm giving you when I'm speaking to this is the reality you can
perceive the pickup in audible activity, this is the frenzied nature of what are a bunch of psychopaths. And by psychopaths, what am I referencing? I'm referencing what is the affect on the human being in the natural. It affects your behavior, it affects your mind state, the way you think and operate, the decisions you make. But their condition is one that you cannot physically perceive, and it is demon possession. And the P.O.C. not only points out and breaks down and itemizes the criminal conduct by the corrupt government, which is public corruption in concert with the people, their pattern of conduct is also demonic at its core. You can also see the personification of that demonic activity through their behavioral patterns and through the unnatural environment. It is literally personified through the impossible light activity, literally. Okay, sunlight's not ricocheting, appearing on the wall beside you while you're sitting under the sun. That has nothing to do with sunlight, and what you saw there was a desperate, but that's going to be probative with regard to the terrorism that Jeanette Balderas engages in with impunity. Impunity is something that you never want attached to your name when you are documented engaged in group stalking. Okay, but in federal group stalking and monitoring is you are automatically acting with impunity because the government is acting as a whole entity on a ceaseless basis with real-time knowledge that it's being documented, where documentation has begun. And if you continue that pattern of conduct even 1 second longer, it's impunity. The government has no basis to ever keep you under surveillance, an innocent citizen under surveillance, engaging in group stalking, and then have the audacity, the nerve, as though you are over and above the law, to communicate through your criminal conduct and continuation of it that we will continue to do so despite your engagement in what is exercising your rights. Nova Contractors, as you already know, that driver, he's going to federal prison, and Nova Contractors is engaged in federal stalking right now. They're doing so with real-time knowledge, and it's inherently acting with impunity. Every government actor engaged in group stalking, let me be clear, the terrorist organization that is the LAPD, those group stalking by helicopter, they're going to federal prison. Those coming onto the grounds of Alvarado Gardens, they know who they are. They're going to federal prison. And I want to be clear, the entity is acting with real-time knowledge while they are doing so and witnessing every moment of the fact that they're being documented. I want to document also engaging in what is federal stalking is Anthony Kennedy. Anthony Juan Kennedy, who you've seen while the entity flew in circles over Alvarado Gardens for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. This was in the middle of the night when I'm documenting the people of the state. The entity begins while they're monitoring the documentation, and I'm monitoring the sex offense that Anthony Juan Kennedy engaged in as the people of the state, not as an individual. He is engaging in what is workplace terrorism and federal stalking with real-time knowledge of the fact that I'm in the midst of documenting him. While I'm documenting the people, I'm documenting him, and he's a sex offender, and he engaged in a sex offense in the shoes of the government on behalf of the state of California. I'm going to prosecute him for that, and he's also engaged in what is monitoring me inside of the workplace while he's engaged in Title 18 criminal conduct. That's not a coincidence. The entity is listening to me document them. This is the ongoing futility of an entity that's defeated. It's pathetic, but since he wants to call on the phone, I also want to point out his name, Angela Kennedy. That's his mother's name, who's a documented group stalker as well. His name is Anthony Juan Kennedy under the number 909-631-8348. He is engaged in what is a threat to me personally. I do not speak with him, not aware of the fact that he is group stalking still to date. This became aware of me, and this is why I do not maintain contact with him or communication with him. And he is calling, engaging in the state's pattern of conduct in concert with that state, that's stalking in helicopters, surrounding in relevant position with sirens, while the light source is hovering over me and nowhere over Montclair, where off of Granada, where his third-party facilitating venue remains, and the light source will be captured over him, over my head, were I to go to his house right now. So I want to be clear, he represents the people of the state, and he's calling the office, engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is what I already documented today. But I also want to be clear, the cowardice that he's exhibiting, he doesn't want his name to show up on the caller ID. He's got his mother's name. His mother is a documented group stalker. His name is Anthony Juan Kennedy, and he's going to federal prison. It is currently 3:08 p.m., so let me remind you about what's going on at 2:38, because this is what all of that is prefacing the P.O.C. Nova Contractors is also engaged in the same criminal conduct. There's no difference between Nova Contractors, the people of the state, and Anthony Juan Kennedy, the people of the state. Okay, they're all engaging in what is federal stalking. Every phone call, every email sent is relevant to 24-hour surveillance that's also spilling into the workplace. That's why you have the state's hallmark, stalking in helicopters, the demonic features of that stalking system, and the entity stalking via the use of sirens. Sirens are nothing other than a means of indicating presence in the path. In that specific environment, it's criminal. And it's serving for what is group stalking and monitoring. This is Nova Contractors that's engaging in the P.O.C. right now. That's fine. It's an ongoing admission. They're going to be prosecuted. Every employee that's here group stalking, which are documented in concert with LAPD, they're going to federal prison. They're present group stalking with engineered light, and they would like to be a distraction This is the desperation that you heard via the audible activity outside. So we're going to continue because it's not a distraction. You're witnessing the ongoing system underway, and the entity is doing so with real-time knowledge. I am at 2:38 p.m. You saw the entity with the light source, so let's look at that. The light source remains over me where I am at 215 East C Street. Never is the natural environment such that the sun is going to be rising, which is what you saw yesterday while I'm in LA, and at some point be over the entrance area of the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California. In the same way, let me be clear, because I documented the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, well before I relocated to Los Angeles, specifically this is the Glendale Echo Park area and the entity is maintaining as though that's the natural environment, and because that's exactly what the terrorist organization, the Ontario Police Department, would like to contend, but no one can reasonably contend that. Okay, at no point, which I've also been witnessing, is the sun going to be over the Supreme Court while it's remaining over me at Alvarado Gardens for the duration of the day. That is capturing on a big picture scale. I want you to look at that. Look that up. See the sun over the Supreme Court. And they're going to compare the time to where it's remaining over me for the duration of the day at one address, setting in alignment to me, rising in alignment to me. So I want you to look at this, and that's a vivid illustration for you right there. That's capturing the pattern of conduct that the state of California is engaging in. Every phone call that you're hearing, all the sirens and the helicopter flying over the parking lot, the engineered light that Jeanette Balderas was so generously providing and engaging in while she's group stalking clearly, pacing in the parking lot by Tiffany Sherez and the demons in their vehicles. This is an entity that's both monitoring and they're also desperate with regard to wanting to be a distraction. Focus on this, talk about this, don't talk about the state, don't talk about what's going on somewhere else. That's the entity's, again, that's that self-destructive, that futile mind state. And while this demon-possessed entity, this corrupt entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, it is in a frenzied state, all right? It is still not fearful enough, which is the federal government's purpose. This is the federal policies that need to come into existence, and the intense prosecution under existing federal policies that exist, which need to be enforced because the government, the state, is not fearful enough. It's not fearful enough to cease from engaging in it. Okay, so as long as you have terrorists like Tiffany Sherez striding in relevant position while the entity flies over in a helicopter, openly engaging in that demon possession, you want to demonstrate, in other words, to the target individual that you're demon possessed, that's an act of a terrorist. Okay, they want to freak you out, and the entity seeks to do so while you don't have evidence of the fact that you've got, because the ordinary target individual may or may not even describe it as demonic. They might not even have the language to describe light appearing on surfaces while you're driving a car. What is that? Okay, but for the direct evidence showing you the demon possession of Jeanette Balderas, who acts with impunity because she knows that her demonic activity, which is terrorism in concert with the state, is captured, and to provide so generously that same impunity, that same abandon that she wants to provide with regard to engaging in that's the lack of hesitation that the federal judge is going to exemplify when she's being sentenced. Okay. The federal judge is not going to hesitate, because that's exactly what you're looking at when you see that impossible light just sitting on that dumpster wall in plain sight after the entity flies directly over the parking lot in plain sight while that light source is sitting directly over my head at 2:38 p.m. So this is where the light source is at 2. This is 2:15 p.m. I'm capturing video. This video began at 2:37, and the entity is maintaining the light source while I'm inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. So I want you to see as I walk through that library. This is the same library where I have arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the light source is still over this library. Okay, so it's already the P.O.C. We're at 2:38 p.m. on June 6, 2022, that it's still there. This is why I was documenting it in 2022. In addition to a whole body of evidence when I'm nowhere near the Ovid Family Community Library, even on public transportation, even remaining inside of an entirely different location such as the Fontana Lewis Library, such as being in front of the Fontana Police Department, such as walking on Juniper in Fontana, California, just being at the Chino Branch Library is not going to be over the entrance of the Ovid Family Community Library. This is why I documented it. So now when I'm in LA and you're looking at the entity group stalking directly in helicopters, exhibiting demon possession in doing so, in concert with the people, all of whom are monitoring ongoing documentation and further demonstrating not only their frenzied, fearful state, albeit not fearful enough to stop engaging in their criminal system, which is going to be used against them in federal law, when this whole criminal act operated by a government is then individualized and is going under your name. Under your name. You're going to answer for all that you participated in as an entity under your name. because they're not fearful enough to cease engaging in it now, the entity is providing this evidence, which is why I continuously documented it. So this is me walking through the environment, through the library at the top.
It's 2:38 p.m. These are minions who are crossing paths. This is group stalking. Not only Direct the Light fills the venue on the inside of the venue of the Obit Family Community Library, the fake sun remains over the Obit Family Community Library at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California. And as you'll recall, I'm at the Upland Police Department at the same time. And it's not just the fact that I'm up at the Upland Police Department.
All right, this is where I'm at 2:38. I'm at the entrance. Remember, I showed you the other day, I'm at the same entrance at 10:29 in the morning, 11, 12, 1, 2. 4 hours later, there is no court where the terrorist organization, the Ontario Police Department, and as you see today, the terrorist organization, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, them too, the Los Angeles Police Department will ever be able to contend that they are in the natural environment under no circumstances demonstrating demon possession, which becomes legally relevant when you're documented engaged in the system of group stalking and monitoring, that they are, in other words, not engaged in terrorism in concert with the people of the state, or you're looking at that which is not even possibly sunlight on the dumpster wall while the light source is over the Ovid Family Community Library, and this demon, Jeanette Balderas, is sitting beside a dumpster in Los Angeles where that would ever be light activity that's coexisting, where the sun would never be present in its zenith like you see on the bottom, where I'm here outside of my office and it's directly over my head, and you're seeing at the top at 2:38 p.m. it's over my head in the same position. That's called being in its zenith, which, by the way, the zenith position of the sun is not occurring at all times of the day. It's not occurring during all hours between 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and 2, and 3. The zenith is at a specific time in the day, and the sun is also not stationary over one address. This is not the sun that will be over 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, and also remaining over me in front of my leasing office in that same position directly over the top of my head at the same time. That's impossible, and it's also impossible while the entity is documented maintaining the light source at the same address from the beginning to the end of the day, and that is covered when I'm capturing as a matter of documentation from 8 o'clock in the morning at the same library, and also group stalking in helicopter as a matter of video documentation at 6:39 in the evening at that same library, providing no provision for the sun to ever be present on the property of Alvarado Gardens, which is, again, the documentation where you're looking at the sunrise over me at 7:58 in the morning, as I documented yesterday, June 6, 2024, and the sunset, as you saw, after 7 p.m., where the people of the state acting via Luke Powell, the unfortunate display of what is pathetic, even as they are showing affection to each other, it's still not even about them, it's about me. They're group stalking with the state that's flying over in helicopter. That's also very disturbing, as equally disgusting, okay? While they're group stalking in the path and engineered light, the entity stalking by helicopter, just like you saw at 2:37 as I started this video, and the people of the state are group stalking in the path, pacing in the parking lots, pacing up and down Alvarado Street, where there would never be any sun at any point in the day, when I'm showing literally beginning to the end of the day of the light source here at the Ovid Family Community Library. So I want you to see in real time where I'm at right now, the light source. Oh, sorry. The light source remaining over me. Discard that. All right, I want to document again another one engaging in federal stalking. This is 213-806-9152. This is audible activity with regard to my operation on my communication device. As I cancel an operation on my phone, immediately the phone rings. And it's occurring in the specific environment, and that's how you know that is also as well. Pursuant to your ever physical movement, pursuant to your operation of a communication device, it is so pathetic engaging in surveillance sitting in your car. And this is an old woman. She should be worried about her health. She should be worried about her mindset. She should be worried about what she's going to do when she's sitting in federal prison. Instead, she's engaging in what is surveillance. This is a demon-possessed one that's also listening and aware of everything that's occurring while I'm inside of the office, monitoring with the third party that called on the phone, and that's also federal stalking and group stalking. This is light activity, while that which is not possibly the sun that's over the Ovid Family Community Library at the same time is remaining over me here in Los Angeles, okay? That's the P.O.C. That's called demonic pacing as well, just driving backward and forward. This is also a desperate attempt to want to be a distraction. It's not a distraction. That's why she's going to federal prison. She represents the entity that's sounding sirens, that's stalking in helicopters, that's just casually walking across in the parking lot. This is the same one that you see walking around my apartment in the evening while the entity's flying over in helicopter, and this light source is still here at 7 in alignment with my apartment window, which is on the same property, as though the sun is ever going to be at the Ovid Family Community Library like I'm capturing here at the top. This is the pattern of conduct of, this is revealing what is state
Looking at what is activity creation. I get on Omnitrans Route 83.
So I want you to see that. This is speaking to what is absolutely impossible. And this is the environment where you're looking at what is group stalking in the path. And this is coexisting with what the entity relies on this pathetic existence. Everything and everything that you're doing is about the targeted individual, and a psychopath seeks to make it appear, but there's nothing that you are deceived by, because you're aware of the environment that it's happening. And so then you can see the mental illness that the entity seeks to conceal. Then you are aware of the mental illness while an entity is stalking in helicopters and wants to appear as though it's not, doing so by flying at a great distance. But yet I'm hearing that, okay? And then providing what is ongoing evidence against Marina Davila, who is indeed going to federal prison. That's P.O.C. And this is the passive aggression that's exhibited by her. That's a threat by her. She's going to federal prison, okay? That's what you understand. And she represents the entity. And the entity engages in this ongoing pattern on an ongoing basis. Do not forget, this is the same property where there would never, ever be any sun over me at the same time while you're looking at this stalking in a helicopter. That's the entity group stalking directly. This is the entity group stalking vicariously. P.O.C. And what does the entity do while you point out their criminal conduct? They'll fly over your head in a helicopter, while the coward keeps their back to you, and the coward flies over in a helicopter, which, again, at that distance, I'm never going to be able to hear that. That's a demon that's targeting you through the audible activity, and that's a demon that's stalking in the path, living at the crime scene. You go to federal prison for that. This is the light source, and this is tying together what is a specific environment. Everybody at the Open Family Community Library was engaged in the same criminal system that you see engaged in now, and the two are not sharing a natural environment, and you're witnessing what is the mental illness that is shared by that entire population that looks to the left and the right while they are targeting you. That is revealing very disturbing conduct that is shared by an entire entity living, committing their lives and everything that they do to the elements of monitoring in the path, okay? Engineer light while that third party opens and closes the door, okay? Targeting you, looking to the left and the right, and the entity flies over your head in a helicopter while they look to the left and the right. The entity is doing so on federal stalking, calling on the phones as well, and then doing so with an ongoing knowledge of the fact of everything that you are stating, okay? This is, again, 3:21 p.m., and I want to remind you, not only are you looking at all the hallmarks, not only is this speaking to, hold on, let's show you the engineer light here in the back of the office. Since I have this opportunity to capture, just want to be clear, and then you're looking at what are demons digging out of their car. The entity flies over your head by helicopter. The light source, which is not possibly the sun, is over your head, and they look to passively to the left and the right while engineer light is appearing on the dumps. Remember what Jeanette Balderas is doing, and engaging in what is revealing the mental illness of those who are group stalking. That mental illness is nothing other than the effect on human beings who are demon possessed. That's the mental affect. That personality defect results in what is that very highly unnatural, disturbing level of passive aggressive stalking. But you're witnessing what is not so passive aggressive, because the entity is doing so in an environment that is in every way revealing the fact that you are indeed being targeted. Flying over your head in a helicopter, stalking with engineer light, this is under no circumstances passive aggressive. These are the hallmarks of recognizing group stalking, and as you passively engage in that conduct in concert with LAPD, like you see Tiffany Sherez, you see Jeanette Balderas, all right, you see the Ledesma walking to his van and in the path, using his vehicle as the means of light activity, stalking in the path, and the entity flies directly over your head. They're all going to federal prison. The entire property, okay? The entire property is going to federal prison. Mental examinations are necessary as a matter of prosecution for engaging in group stalking. The entire property, the people of the state living at this crime scene, will be listed as group stalkers to be maintained by the Department of Justice. And you're understanding the system of terrorism that they are engaging in concert with that terrorist organization, the LAPD, who provides a wealth of evidence against the people when you recognize both the system and the concerted conduct, and then the behavioral patterns, which are highly disturbing and under no circumstances pointing out any for example, suggestion of innocence, because that demon, because that third party looks to the left and right. These are all the false pretenses upon which the system of group stalking was built. All right, Marina Davila is a malicious actor, and she acts in concert with the entity, and doing so with real-time knowledge. And so while the entity flies over your head, that third party in particular is going to federal prison for it. That third party is acting pursuant to the system, though. All right, so the last thing I want to show you before I conclude this video, it is 3:23 p.m. I started this video at 3:37 when the entity starts sounding helicopter activity, and I want you to remember what I captured. I'm at the same property at 1:15 over the top of my apartment. This is where the entity is sounding
this is where the entity is maintaining its light source directly over my head at 1:15 p.m. There's no point where at 1:15 p.m. it's remaining over the Ovid Family Community Library all day, and also then remaining over me while I am at the apartment complex of what is Alvarado Gardens. This is what I documented today. Remaining over me directly over my head where I remain. So while you're looking at what is, again, this is demonic at its core. So this is speaking to what is highly malicious. The demonic seeks to hide in plain sight, seeks to try to appear normal. There's nothing normal about stalking in helicopters, and there's nothing normal about keeping your back while you're group stalking while the entity is stalking you by helicopters. There's nothing normal about the sun remaining over the top of your head all day long while the entity is stalking you in helicopters and group stalking you with all those who surround, keeping their backs to you. Okay? Looking to the left. There's nothing normal about that. Okay? This is the whole system of group stalking. Every single last person, all 59 units here, that are occupied with nothing but the people of the state, and they're all going to federal prison because of that psychotic episode that you just saw demonstrated by Marina Davila. Okay? This is a passive-aggressive psychopath whose aggression is communicated on her behalf by that terrorist organization who flew over my head while she is listening, and the whole entity is aware of me describing her criminal conduct. The demons are together exhibiting their hostility while they fly over my head in a helicopter. Okay? They're acting as one in the unnatural environment where the sun would not be over the same property at 1:15. This is the same apartment building. I'm in building 1806. It's right over my head at the top of my apartment building, and I'm capturing images of what is the people of the state who live in a relevant position. All of this population, they're all covered in engineer light. None of this is sunlight. It's the same environment. They're group stalking with the state while I am specifically surrounded by the people of the state on the grounds of Alvarado Gardens. Let me be clear. You hear Silverview Townhomes. This property is covered in engineer light. They're in the path. You see them engaging in concerted conduct day and night. They're violent sex offenders and terrorists the same. And they're going to find themselves, all 35 units, prosecuted. That's nothing other than an easy means of me identifying a whole group of people. This whole population is going to be prosecuted. The state is monitoring through everyone in relevant position. That's how you have what is an impossible occurrence, which is the unnatural environment that's shared over the entrance of the Ovid Family Community Library in Ontario, and the light source that's remaining over me here at the same time, 2:38 p.m. That's called the pattern of conduct. And I'm at the same property at 6:49 yesterday. Okay, so the entity was maintaining a light source over the Ovid Family Community Library on this day in 2022 at 2:38 p.m. There's no sun that's going to be over in alignment to my bedroom window. There's no sun that's going to be in alignment to me right now while I am at the same property at 2:38. It's 3:26 p.m. right now. The entity's light source was over my apartment. You just saw it. Over my apartment at 1:15. Yeah, 1:15, and at 6:49, this is outside of the window of the same apartment. So you're looking clearly at what Marina Davila is engaging in, and knowingly so. That mental illness is made manifest while you are looking at the full picture of the environment and the criminal conduct with which she is cooperating, the real-time knowledge that she has and is necessarily maintaining while that entity flies over my head, providing evidence against her. And that's the implosion of the system of group stalking and monitoring, by the way, while that entity is engaging in that conduct it's not only to her demise, but it's to the demise of the entire state of California. Okay, but it is entirely unintelligent. It's not even logical. It's certainly not scientific. And then you are just breaking down what is very disturbing personality defects. All right, what is mentally ill condition that is necessarily the case to engage in this level of criminal conduct as a whole population of people. There is no logical explanation for it. This is no product of sunlight, by the way. This is the entity that's group stalking. This is what I captured yesterday at 5:44 at the same property where the entity is maintaining a light source. So this is, again, pointing out the system. I just want you to see the sunset. 6:49 p.m. This is the front of building 1806 where my front door is. This is where the hillside is. This is out where my living room window is, in other words, at the top. And this is, so you can see the time, 1:15 in the afternoon. And this is on the bottom. Hold on. This is on the bottom outside of my bedroom, the same apartment at 6:49 in the afternoon. I just want to be clear, this duration of time alone is speaking to what is absolutely a scientific impossibility. The sun is never remaining over one address, which is exactly what I'm capturing here, from 1 o'clock till 6:49 to be present. And that was yesterday at 6:49 p.m. This was June 6th,
2024 at 6:49 p.m. and this was today at 1:15 in the afternoon. The light source, the same apartment. I live in building 1806 on the 3rd floor. At 6:49 p.m. I'm inside of my apartment, building 1806, just so that you can see that. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining a light source as though the sun would be at the front of my apartment directly over my head at 1:15 and outside of my bedroom window at 6:49 p.m. All right, it's still in a position to be seen, aiming any sort of light into my bedroom. It's not just the fact that it's in my bedroom, it's along the bedroom wall as though sunlight is going to shoot through my my bedroom window, ricochet off the mirrors, stripe across the carpet, grow, and I mean grow. It builds upward on the bedroom wall, okay? And also it's appearing on the ceiling. That's entirely demonic. You just saw the impossible light activity appearing in my office. It's separate from what's supposedly the sunlight that's out there. There's no sun that's ricocheting off of the door and just shooting through the air and appearing on the walls and the depths of the office wall. No, that's the pattern of stalking with light. And then you see demons such as Marina Davila looking to the left and the right, not acknowledging you while the entity flies over your head by helicopter. She's going to federal prison. That's how you're understanding the malice of federal group stalking and monitoring. And it is that which is underway in concert and on behalf of terrorist organizations such as the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and the Los Angeles Police Department. Let me be clear. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is engaging in this criminal system inside of their facilities. That's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly what the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department are doing when they engaged in repeated acts of kidnapping, and they were engaged in what is this system, including amplifying helicopter activity inside of the jails. Okay, so I want to be clear, in California, these demons specifically like to use helicopters, including and why? Because it's relevant to what is the appetite of a demon-possessed psychopath that wants to torment and torture another. They will do so through the audible activity. Their pattern of conduct includes helicopters. So while they're kidnapping you inside of the facility, this is what the entity was doing at Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center, at the Central Detention Center, and at the West Valley Detention Center. And let me be clear, I've never been a criminal one day in my life. The entity was repeatedly kidnapping while they're making up information, and they were group stalking the whole time. The fake sun is over every venue where they're documenting the Economy Inn, Sunrise and Sunset. Okay, the Ovid Family Community Library, literally sunrise, sunset, 8 o'clock in the morning till 6:39, 6:41 in the evening. That's duration of the day analysis. And then you have the entity maintaining a light source here in Los Angeles, which is just added on documentation with regard to the entity that I've already surrounded with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt with regard to what is recognized under federal law as terrorism in the U.S. America's version of terrorism, and it's not happening in a third world country. The terrorist organization is these corrupt law enforcement agencies that are targeting American citizens in violation, clear conflict with the constitutional rights, the laws whereby in violation of the very oaths that these terrorists take while they're masquerading with badges, using helicopters in the way that you just saw. You're talking about what is recognizing the grounds and what is supporting what I advocate, the demilitarization of these terrorist organizations, disbanding for those that are documented engaging in the terrorism system. Then you're talking about disbanding. LAPD is not above the law. They're certainly not needed. You can start. They're not needed. They are not so crucial that you have to go. We can't go. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. It is as fake as that light source that's over my head. That's not true. They are showing you their unworthiness, okay? They're showing you the impunity. They're showing you how much they are preparing for war, okay, against innocent American citizens. That's what they're showing you, all right? I want to make sure that you recognize the unnatural environment. It's directly indicative of the demonic activity that I just captured through, and it's that demonic activity is trickling down and manifesting into what is criminal conduct. And then you can see the mental illness that Marina Davila has. That's a psychopath that's targeting you in concert with that entity. That's not a coincidence flying over my head while I'm pointing out the condition and the criminal conduct. That same demonic entity flies over my head in a helicopter while that demon is digging in the backseat of her car. Okay? That's the psychopath. And that's why the whole property is going to federal prison, by the way. Every single last third party. And the population, the people of the state that have been heavily documented for years, the people of the state that are calling on this phone, every phone call is made pursuant to real-time knowledge of what I'm documenting. Anthony Kennedy is going to federal prison. Nova Contractors is a third party. They will not survive federal prosecution. They will not survive being listed as a group stalker. Nova Contractors is already a nobody, okay? They're not going to survive prosecution. The entity is engaging in what is ongoing facilitation and ongoing impunity as I document them. And they're doing so with real-time knowledge that they're being documented. So I want to make sure that we, let's go over who was engaging in that. That was... 213-806-9152. the entity is engaging what is audible activity creation. Angela Kennedy, this is the coward. Anthony Jawan Kennedy is the actual name. Angela Kennedy is not the appropriate caller ID. The number is 909-631-8348. Engaging in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, and it's also occurring in the workplace. Todd Speaker is going to compensate. I'm going to drain the pockets of this company because he's engaging and facilitating the state's criminal system under the guise of the business of a company. It's a malicious misuse and it's the corrupt misuse and the malicious facilitation of federal group stalking and monitoring by the state, acting in concert, and NOVA contractors engaging in what is audible activity creation in the specific environment. Everything is elements in the specific environment. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and it is highlighted through not only that unnatural environment where I'm documenting the sunrise and the sunset, which, by the way, let's go over that one more time before I end this, because this is what, not only do you see that light source in alignment to my bedroom window, while you're looking at a group stalker that lives at the crime scene engaging in what is an act of terrorism. She acts so generously, and that's exactly how that evidence is going to be used against her. She's threatening my life while the entity flies over my head in a helicopter because she's a passive-aggressive psychopath and a violent sex offender, a terrorist who is hostile because I'm documenting her criminal conduct, and then she, as the entity, uses a helicopter to terrorize and monitor me. That's exactly how she's going to be prosecuted, the terrorist that she is. And the entity does so in the unnatural environment while the light source is over my head, and the light source remains in alignment to me at what is 6:49 p.m. at the same property. This is the same time when you're seeing that demon pacing around the property of Alvarado Gardens in engineered light at the same hour, by the way. I've documented Marina Davila acting with impunity and malice on many occasions. She's going to be thrown in federal prison like the terrorist that she is. All right, and her daughter, by the way, documented. But I want to make sure that I also get, because I documented the sunrise yesterday, and no one is forgetting that. No one has forgotten that. I documented the sunrise, which was yesterday in the morning, outside of my living room window.
Like 7:59 in the morning on Thursday, June 6, 2024. I just want to show you what is the maintenance of engineered light inside of the apartment. You've seen this day in and day out captures. I just want to show what the entity is engaging in.
That's engineered light that's appearing on my living room floor, and this is what the entity is doing inside of my my bedroom in the evening. This is what you just saw the entity doing inside of my office right now. Engineered light just appearing on the upward portion of the wall, as though you're supposed to make a separation in your mind, as though the federal government, as though any federal investigator is going to make some sort of separation, or that anyone's going to be confused. You're looking at something that you may be a novice to it, but no intelligent person, no person that's going to take on an objective survey of what's going on is going to disregard the impossible light activity or make some sort of separation, or oh, that doesn't count, the helicopter, oh, that's separate from what this person is doing. None of that. You're taking a big picture analysis of everything, and I'm showing you how the pattern looks, how the behavior ties into the environment, how it's an ongoing consistent pattern no matter where I go, no matter what time it is, and it's focused on what I do as I do it. All right, no intelligent, and I'm speaking to the federal government, these are not they're not novices. They may be novices with regard to demonic activity, okay, and that becomes legally relevant with regard to what the government is doing, okay, but no intelligent person is going to just forget about that impossible light activity that happened, that sunrise that happened yesterday, like the demons that are the LAPD do. They forget about it, and they provide ongoing evidence against the people. But let me be clear, that's Providence. Okay, everything that I'm documenting, it's going against the entity. Speaker of Companies is a terrorist. That's reality. It's not a legitimate company. The people of the state are engaging in terrorists. You're a terrorist. You're terrorizing an American citizen, and you know that you're being shown as that, and you act with impunity. You are an outright terrorist. Terrorists are not treated gently or delicately or kindly. They're not. They're treated like the threat to the society that they are. Okay, and so that criminal conduct that they are exacting against an American citizen who has the presence of mind to capture it and document it and then even break it down for the world to understand, okay, so that there would not be any confusion, so that there would not be any darkness with regard to what's going on and what the Lord Jesus is exposing amongst the population, amongst the governments in the United States. That's occurring for a reason. All right, so this is what the entity is doing when you're looking at engineer light appearing in my bedrooms in the evening. It's appearing all over my walls, all over the ceiling. The pattern of the blinds appearing upward, the engineered light appearing downward on the walls. This is entirely demonic. It has nothing to do with sunrise, with the sunrise or sunset. It has nothing to do with sunlight. Just like you saw appearing in the corner of the wall, while you saw the engineered light that's appearing on the ground, and you saw the light source over me. It has nothing to do with the engineered light. Nothing. It's a method of maintaining the specific environment. And then you see the mental illness manifest on a person that keeps their back to you while that acting with that entity that flies directly over your head. Their mental illness Their condition is what is being highlighted, as opposed to what is the malice of the system. It's supposed to, and it doesn't even make sense that it ever would. It's requiring the corruption of courthouses that would entertain criminal defamation. That's the only reason how that works, because there is nothing about the state's criminal pattern of conduct that has anything to do or in any way reflects the mental state of the target individual, and it certainly does not work when you are capturing their demonic behavior, their demented, very disturbing and disconcerting and despicable criminal activity together, and in that environment, which is also revealing their mental illness. Okay, this is the same light activity you're seeing in the morning, so you're seeing that in my bedroom in the evening. Okay, after 7 p.m.
both
In
rise
addition to
and
that,
set.
I want you to see the lights.
The entity seeks to obstruct justice.
As though the sun is going to be present. This is captured at 7:59 in the morning. Okay, 7:59. What else are you looking at? And then I'm remaining at this same property, 7:59, and at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's still over my apartment. 7:59, outside of my living room window. My living room window is right here to the side of my front door. It's right here. So this is where I'm seeing the sunset. At 1 o'clock, the entity is suggesting at 1:15, that's still going to be the sun. It's directly over the top of my head. And as I step outside and I capture video of the light source, I'm in front of my leasing office at 3:29. This is where you're seeing the light source remaining all day long, as though it's also setting inside of the same apartment. This is captured at 7:44. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining an unnatural environment, group stalking with the LAPD, in concert with the people.
LAPD group stalking, in concert, driving in the parking lot. This is still...
That's captured at 7:47 p.m. And you saw a sunrise through my living room window at 7:59 in the morning. You're looking at the light source that's still over the top of my head at 2:38 in the afternoon. While the entity is group stalking with Marina Davila, Tiffany Sherez, Jeanette Balderas, group stalking while the entity is the terrorist organization, the LAPD flying directly, repeatedly over. That's not stopping the documentation. That's not stopping the evidence. That's not stopping the federal repercussions that Marina Davila is going to serve. This is what the entity does when you are enforcing your rights. No federal judge is going to in any way slow down. They will even more so accelerate Dominic Choi's prompt removal as a terrorist in this country, engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is America's version of terrorism. Engaging in what is, because you serve Satan, that whole organization serves Satan. This is why they are devoting 24 hours surveillance in helicopters. No federal judge is going to slow that down. Okay? And no federal judge is going to disregard any aspect of the evidence. It is so peculiar, it demands your attention. You don't ignore it. And it certainly has nothing to do with the targeted individual's mind state. It brings into question what the entity is being exposed, what exactly is going on here. It's probable cause, like I said, at the least. But the P.O.C. provides more than probable cause. It's establishing the pattern of conduct, and it's the prosecution of the government beyond a reasonable doubt. And Luke Powell's group stalking.
A remaining sunset. This is the same street where you're looking at the sun over me at the entrance of at 937. And that is license 9F VF B37. And they're going to federal prison. Substantially similar. I want to make sure I document this. They're doing...
And the entity is group stalking indeed by helicopter while there's a remaining so-called sunset in alignment to me, in addition to impossible light activity that's crossing path, pacing. The vehicle drives in and then drives out of the parking lot. That's pacing. They're driving in and out. All right, they're crossing path in concert as one. Crossing
That's
path
the
in the
same
Cherokee
pattern of
Jeep.
conduct. I already documented that.
All right, crossing path into the parking lot also as I'm documenting, and this is the
There's some
engineer
possible
light.
light activity on my bed.
That engineer light up. Let me not back up. I would say never mind, but let me just finish that. The engineer light remains inside of my apartment. That's what I want to show you. It's not sunlight. This is engineer light on my bedroom wall, and this is captured after 7:44. 7:44. The light source that's supposedly the sun is over my apartment at 7:59 in the morning. This is it right there. That's outside of my living room window. It's still over my head as I stand in front of my apartment at 1 in the afternoon. It's over my head at the same property. Let's not forget again, what am I standing at? Big picture. This is the sunrise through my living room window at 7:59. At 7:44 outside of my bedroom window, which is just on the opposite side of the same apartment. I have not gone same property, okay? 7:44 p.m. Oh, the so-called sunset that's creating light on my bedroom wall. And you're also looking at all manner of light activity, just like what you saw inside of my office that has nothing to do with sunlight. Maintaining engineer light all around me while demons are stalking in helicopter. This is where I stand right now. 2:38 p.m. as though the sun set in alignment to me. It goes from here to right here as though the sun is just setting in perfect alignment to me. That's called stalking in the path with light. And there's no provision that the sun is over the Ovid Family Community Library. Because I documented before I even came to Los Angeles, the sun is never going to be over this property. And it's also not going to be from the beginning till the end of the day in alignment to me. Okay, that's called stalking with light. And the entity is also stalking with helicopters, and they're stalking in concert via people of the state, psychopaths, and sex offending group stalkers such as Marina Davila, who you saw in action. You saw that in action, in concerted action, while the entity is swarming around in helicopters, okay? So this is currently 3:44 p.m. This video is a little over an hour, but I want to end it with what is the maintenance of the light source? P.O.C. This is indeed the P.O.C. where the entity is maintaining a light source, and it goes from being in alignment with my office, then being in alignment with my apartment on the same property after 7:44, okay? That's serving for its 24-hour surveillance, and everybody on this property is indeed going to federal prison, and it is terrorism while they're practicing demonic activity together. It is, again, 3:45 p.m., and this is P.O.C. p.m. This is documentation referring to what I documented on June 7, 2025 when I'm living and working in Los Angeles. I'm currently at Alvarado Gardens on June 7, 2024. At 5:21 p.m. is when I begin a screen recording, and the video ends at 5:33 p.m. So I'm starting this video today at the same time at 5:32 p.m. At the end of my screen recording that I captured in 2024, I'm documenting the fake sun that's remaining over Alvarado Gardens where I live and work, exposing where I am subject to surveillance by the police, which is representing the state that's engaging in surveillance in that specific environment, which defies nature, science, logic, common sense. And it's also very obvious, the impossible light activity, conduct, etc. And this is where the entity is maintaining the impossible light still while the people of the state are stalking in the path. This is criminal presence in the path while they engage in the malicious pattern of conduct. And this is malicious because the entity is keeping a sun over Alvarado Gardens on this day in 2024, and in the natural environment it wouldn't be over Starbucks. And that's how you understand the course of conduct, not the outward demeanor of psychopaths who are gang stalking amongst impossible light activity inside of the venue in concert with the people of the state that are pacing in shade, and impossible light is still appearing in here and appearing over here. Okay, they're all engaging in activity creation. So at 5:32 p.m., which is what I'm referring to on this video, the time log is 2024-607, 5:33 is when this screen recording ends, and I am capturing the fake sun over Alvarado Gardens. This is a real-time image. There's the fake sun right there over me, and at 5:32 p.m. right now the fake sun is remaining over Starbucks, where the people of the state are gang stalking. The entity is gang stalking while impossible light, tornadoes of light, and as you saw in the previous video, swiping across the building, they're all monitoring. And they're monitoring while the fake sun is over Starbucks right here in the same place that it was this morning. Like you see at the bottom at 11:11 a.m., the city is engaged in surveillance, and that's state action. What LAPD is doing, the law enforcement agencies in California are doing. And this is what you can see here. This is the specific environment where the sun is over the same roof as it is at 11:11 a.m. And on this day in 2024, the entity was engaged in the same pattern of conduct with the people of the state that surround and are entering in and remaining, like at Alvarado Gardens, remaining at Starbucks to keep me under surveillance, evident through the maintenance of the supernatural, which is a fake sun, where you saw Ontario PD gang stalking by helicopter at 3:42 p.m. over the same building as where the sun has been since 11 a.m. 11:11, like you see at the bottom, and where the people of the state are engaging in a pattern of terrorism with all manner of impossible light, where the entity has the fake sun over Alvarado Gardens. There's no sunlight appearing inside of Starbucks. Where the entity has the fake sun, well, the natural sun, in other words, over Alvarado Gardens, like I documented on this day in 2024, where I'm showing you the light source that's remaining over me at the entrance of Alvarado Gardens at 1800 North Alvarado Street. That is not possibly over the roof of this building, where again, no sunlight is ever going to create tornadoes of light and swipe across the building. This is malice while you see the people of the state gang stalking. All right, the entity is doing so, and it is currently 5:35 p.m. 507 North Euclid Avenue. where the entity has the light source over at what is 11:11 a.m. as I documented today. And in 2021, I've already documented Starbucks having the fake sun over this same venue at 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. So this is already the conclusive pattern of conduct. I've already documented this, and it's replete with what is the tornadoes of light. This is the prosecution of the government that's gang stalking using helicopters as they're following me around day and night with the people that stay as malicious as you see them here. That's how malicious they are when the entity is gang stalking me, following me around in helicopters, okay? It's a psychopathic disorder. It's a threat to your life and safety, and the entity is doing it with a high level of malice, and that mental illness is exhibited by that impossible light activity. That's speaking to the that's in their minds. These are demons, and they're very, very sick and demented. It is a pattern of conduct. It is shared with the LAPD that's gang stalking me at this time of year at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where the people of the state are sharing in the criminal surveillance system, where the fake sun is remaining over the venue, over me, where I remain. And it is that specific because the sun is remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments when I'm at Tracy Banks's apartment. It's not doing that anymore because I'm no longer at that apartment, and it's not the natural environment. And neither is traffic going to cause any sort of sunlight in here. They're stalking with light. That's what demons do, demons who are monitoring. And they're sharing in presence, light activity, and relevant positioning while they walk in it, prepare drinks in it, talk in it, use communication devices in it. It is P.O.C. It is gang stalking. It is currently 5:36 p.m. This is P.O.C.